Daniel Walker was sent flying to the ground but quickly got up, shaking off the dust from his fur. He raised his head to glare at the deputy steward. Despite taking a direct hit from a 7th-tier attack, he remained unscathed. The deputy steward's eyes turned even redder with rage. Yet Daniel Walker had already completed the contract. Instantly, a spiritual connection formed between him and Anna Reed, a bond that could grow stronger through battles and shared experiences. Anna Reed realized the contract was finalized, and tears welled up in her eyes. Deep down, she understood that if Daniel Walker had chosen to follow the deputy steward earlier, it might have been the better choice, as she had nothing to offer him.
Good. Very good. You had a path to heaven but refused to take it, and now you insist on barging into hell.
The deputy steward, seeing that they had formed a life and death contract, where if one died, the other would perish as well, was consumed with fury. His bloodshot eyes gleamed as he raised his hand to cast another spell, launching it toward them. He was at the early stage of the 7th tier, considered quite formidable within the Reed family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have secured the lucrative position of deputy manager at the martial arts hall.
Bring it on!
Daniel Walker showed no fear towards them, charging forward to confront the ice element spell. In an instant, his entire body was frozen. The deputy manager sneered coldly with disdain, extending his hand to crush the ice and shatter Daniel Walker.
No!
Anna Reed cried out in worry. But as the ice shattered, Daniel Walker remained unscathed, merely sneezing once. In truth, he had only failed to absorb all the energy in one breath earlier, which made it appear as though he had been frozen.
Is that all you've got? It really makes one question how you managed to secure your position.
Daniel Walker mocked with disdain. The deputy manager's face turned purple with rage. Initially, he thought this mystical beast could serve as a protective charm for his daughter, and that capturing it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Unexpectedly,
that was a 6th level spell just now. 7th level spell, Flame Mountain spell.
As he continued forming seals, a layer of crimson fire began spreading outward from beneath the deputy manager's feet. This was a large-scale area of effect spell. Seeing the flames at his feet, Daniel Walker suddenly had an epiphany. He opened his mouth and inhaled deeply, directly absorbing all the energy that was about to spread in other directions. This was the first time he consciously attempted to absorb the energy of a spell from a distance, but the results were impressive. Ugh! Daniel Walker clicked his tongue, letting out a burp that carried a spark. The energy was being absorbed by his body, but as it passed through his stomach, he still felt a bit bloated.
You?
The deputy steward's eyes were filled with astonishment. He hadn't expected his one and only 7th level spell to be consumed so effortlessly.
This isn't going to work for you. Flame Mountain spell, huh? Where's the mountain? I don't see one,
Daniel Walker said, rolling his eyes.
You?
The deputy steward's face turned green, then red. Clearly, he hadn't even had the chance to fully cast the spell before it was swallowed. Was that even fair? This only made him more determined to kill Daniel Walker. Such a spirit beast, if he couldn't have it, then it had to die. With that thought, he drew a long sword and charged straight at Daniel Walker. Daniel Walker was startled. He didn't believe his body could withstand a blade. While he had leveled up, what if he couldn't block it?
Stop!
A voice rang out, accompanied by a binding spell. The deputy steward was restrained but quickly broke free, only to be stopped again.
Elliot Reed?
The deputy steward squinted his eyes.
Victor Reed, you've got some nerve. How dare you attack the blood contract spirit beast of a junior within the family?
Elliot Reed's sharp eyes immediately caught sight of the red mark on Daniel Walker's forehead, the unique seal of a blood pact between him and Anna Reed. Daniel Walker, however, hadn't even noticed any of this yet.
So what? Moreover, Anna Reed, she fundamentally cannot be considered part of our Reed family. In my opinion, just kick her out, and that's it.
Once kicked out, he would immediately kill them. Elliot Reed's beard trembled.
How dare you? What did Anna do wrong? She allowed her spirit beast to bully other spirit beasts.
Victor Reed blurted out immediately.
Humph, isn't it just collecting protection fees? Does your spirit beast collect any less?
Victor Reed was momentarily speechless.
Your daughter has already grown up, and here you are bullying a little girl. Aren't you afraid your daughter will laugh at you when she grows up?
Elliot Reed, upon receiving the news, rushed over immediately and was shocked to find Victor Reed even planning to harm Daniel Walker and the others.
You?
Victor Reed cursed internally, calling Elliot an old man who wouldn't die.
Her father betrayed the Reed family, leaving behind this illegitimate child. Like father, like daughter. Her child will definitely be a traitor as well. Isn't it better to eliminate her early?
Victor Reed didn't feel in the slightest how cruel his words were toward a young girl. Daniel Walker jumped up.
Well said. Like father, like daughter. With someone as vicious as you, your daughter must be
the same. Might as well strangle her early.
Victor Reed's eyes turned blood red as he prepared to strike. Daniel Walker stood firm, staring back at him without fear.
Stop!
Elliot Reed's icy gaze swept over Victor Reed.
You have no right to expel Anna unless more than 3 chief stewards or 6 deputy stewards approve.
Victor Reed was unwilling, but knew there was no gain for him today.
Just wait, you little brat. As long as you're in the Reed family, don't think you'll live peacefully.
Elliot Reed was so furious that even his beard stood on end. He had never seen someone so shameless as to threaten a little girl like that. Victor Reed didn't feel he was in the wrong at all. He shot a fierce glare at Daniel Walker before leaving with his people. Elliot Reed sighed, looking at Anna Reed, and said,
Anna, don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, you'll be safe.
Anna Reed raised her head and gently nodded, a red dot now appearing on her forehead. Daniel Walker only noticed at this moment.
Anna, when did that red dot appear on your forehead? Could it be that guy plotted something against you?
Elliot Reed was caught between laughter and tears.
That's the blood pack mark of you too. Each person's blood pack mark is unique, and the location differs as well. Both of you have one.
Oh. Daniel Walker raised his paw to rub his forehead, noticing a few strands of fur there had turned red.
Kid, was it Victor Reed who attacked you just now?
Elliot Reed asked, looking at Daniel Walker.
Yes, 9th grandfather. Let me tell you, I can now withstand 7th level magic without a scratch.
Daniel Walker said excitedly.
Really?
A flash of surprise appeared in Elliot Reed's eyes. He then examined Daniel Walker thoroughly before sighing helplessly.
You really? How are you improving so quickly? At this rate, dealing with 8th level magic shouldn't be a problem for you anymore. As for your physical strength, let's not even talk about it. When it comes to magic, this old man at the 7th level has no way to test you anymore.
Daniel Walker immediately grinned innocently. Chapter 17. Yet, his eyes were filled with cunning.
If 9th Grandpa has said so, doesn't that mean I don't need to care about Victor Reed?
Daniel Walker looked innocently at Elliot Reed.
What are you planning to do? Let me tell you, don't cause trouble. Otherwise, even though Victor Reed is just the deputy steward, you'll end up at a disadvantage.
Daniel Walker immediately nodded hastily and said,
Don't worry, I'll be careful. I absolutely won't let him find out.
Elliot Reed was stunned, instinctively reflecting on his own words. Did he really mean it that way?
Forget it, you little rascal.
Elliot Reed shook his head. After he left, Daniel Walker ran over to Anna Reed and asked,
Anna, how's your hand? My hand?
Anna Reed only then remembered her hand had been bitten and the skin broken by Daniel Walker earlier. She immediately burst into laughter.
It's just a small wound, but why did you act so impulsively? You shouldn't have signed the blood pact with me.
Anna Reed bit her lip.
Why shouldn't I? Besides Anna, who else in this world is worthy of signing a pact with me?
Daniel Walker snorted lightly, trying to stand up and clasp his hands behind his back to appear noble and elegant. Unfortunately, he was too round, and his hind legs couldn't quite reach.
You?
Anna Reed chuckled softly, but her eyes turned red.
Why are you crying?
Daniel Walker exclaimed anxiously. He wanted to step forward and hug her, but unfortunately, he was still too small.
Thank you, but Dumpling, I have nothing. I can't give you the things that other spirit beasts can.
Anna Reed sobbed.
What are you even saying? So what? Do you know who I am? With me here, I'll take care of you.
Daniel Walker raised his paw and patted her gently. During another public lecture, this time all the beasts behaved obediently. Upon seeing Daniel Walker, they hurriedly stepped forward to flatter him.
Big brother Dumpling, you're so amazing. Why don't you head to the intermediate zone? You'll definitely dominate there.
A white horse approached, fawning over him. Daniel Walker glanced at it, nodded in agreement, and said,
I already know that without you telling me. Who in this world could possibly be more incredible than me?
The white horse was momentarily speechless, but it quickly continued.
That's right, you're the most amazing. So, have you decided to go to the intermediate zone? Exactly. Someone as powerful as you should head to the intermediate zone and conquer an even larger territory.
A group of small animals gathered around, flattering him. Daniel Walker frowned slightly and said disdainfully,
Are you all trying to flatter me?
The group of animals nodded fervently.
You fools! I'm a panda, not a horse. Calling me a horse is bad enough, but now you're trying to suck up to me too?
Daniel Walker immediately jumped up and smacked the
white horse on its rear with his 6th level strength. Caught off guard, the white horse let out a loud neigh and bolted away in pain.
See that? That's what you call sucking up to a horse.
Daniel Walker snorted. Want him to go? Not a chance.
You lot, go ahead and try sucking up yourselves.
The animals were stunned.
Hurry up. If you do it well, maybe I'll feel generous enough to consider taking a stroll up there.
Daniel Walker plopped himself down on a soft cushion and happily munched on the fruit they had offered him. The animals exchanged glances, looking at the white horse that was now running back toward them, then back at Daniel Walker. In the end, they decided to go ahead and flatter the horse. It turned into a large-scale horse-flattering spectacle. Daniel Walker couldn't stop laughing at the scene, while the white horse felt utterly wronged. Why did it have to suggest he go to the intermediate zone? Everyone clearly agreed on it earlier.
Stay away from me. Big brother Walker, I was wrong, please forgive me.
The white horse stomped its hooves and ran frantically, tears welling up in its eyes. Daniel Walker snorted and continued munching on his fruit. The white horse neighed again, stomping its hooves as it ran circles around the yard. But of course, the animals in the yard tried every trick to block its escape.
Don't run. I'll just give you a light pat.
A canary swooped down quickly.
Dream on,
the white horse shouted, leaping high into the air. Using a move it called,
Horse tramples the sparrow.
The white horse soared over the canary, letting out a triumphant cry. As it ran, it turned its head back and taunted.
Ha ha ha, come and catch me.
Then, with a loud
thud,
it crashed into something.
Courting death.
Shorty Croc was suddenly hit by a horse and immediately bit its leg. The white horse let out a tragic scream, causing the other animals to abruptly stop in their tracks. A rabbit leaped high into the air, unable to halt its momentum, crashing into a white crane. The rabbit ended up riding on the crane, and together they were sent flying outward. Both the bird and the beast were instantly terrified as they hurtled toward the fiery red python, which stretched over 10 meters long.
"Help us!"
The rabbit instinctively grabbed onto the crane's feathers. The white crane let out a more pitiful cry, spiraling chaotically in the air as it sped toward the python at a dizzying 360-degree angle. Daniel Walker scratched his head as he watched the two unlucky creatures. He didn't really want to see them die. Even though they were all animals, he himself was one now too. Meanwhile, Shorty Croc clamped down on the white horse, tearing into it. Despite the horse's attempts to fight back, it couldn't break free. As for the two spinning
cannonballs,
they had already reached the python. The fire serpent, with its cold, menacing eyes, flicked its tongue before opening its mouth wide to swallow them whole.
"No, don't!"
Both the bird and the beast screamed in terror.
"Hey, little snake! Take my super invincible thunder bullet!"
A voice suddenly rang out, drawing the fire serpent's attention. It saw something speeding toward it, and instinctively spat out a burst of flames. The spinning projectile collided with the fire serpent with a loud
thud,
causing its flames to veer off course.
"Courting death!"
The fire serpent growled, noticing the incoming object had been destroyed. It turned its focus back to the pitiful pair clinging to each other, opening its jaws wide to bite down.
"Little snake! Look here, your daddy's right here!"
Daniel Walker shouted loudly. His youthful voice carried an undeniable charm, causing the surrounding animals to look at him in astonishment, taking in a sharp breath. A duck, frightened to the point of hiccuping, let out a
quack,
then hastily covered its mouth. The surrounding animals also quickly covered their mouths, falling into complete silence.
"What did you just say?"
Fire Serpent, hearing the youthful tone, knew it was from a juvenile. Being called son by a youngster, how could he endure such an insult? The short-snout crocodile also stopped in its tracks and stood up. Its head, still swollen, was wrapped with a white bandage. For added flair, it had adorned itself with a ring of spirit stones, making it look utterly ridiculous.
"It's him! He's the one who provoked us last time. I think his name is Tang Yuan. So it's you."
Fire Serpent's cold, vertical pupils locked onto the boy.
Good that you know. So why aren't you calling me daddy yet?"
Daniel Walker arrogantly stood up. However, his appearance lacked any real intimidation, and his youthful arrogance came off as slightly diluted by his age.
"You've got some nerve."
Fire Serpent snarled in rage.
"Indeed, your father here doesn't have much courage. Otherwise, how could I have raised such a disobedient child like you? Daring to defy me, such disrespect."
A murderous glint flashed in Fire Serpent's icy eyes as a flame shot straight toward Daniel Walker. Unfazed, Daniel Walker opened his mouth and swallowed the flame whole, then patted his stomach.
"Bring it on!"
Daniel Walker said, flame still flickering at the corners of his mouth. Chapter 18, Doom for Sure! Exclamation point. Fire Serpent initially couldn't sense Daniel Walker's power level, but upon seeing him effortlessly devour its flames, it became more cautious. It coiled its massive body and moved closer to Daniel Walker. A serpent over 10 meters long stood in stark contrast to the small panda barely reaching the knee height of an adult human.
"Then let's see if you can handle this."
As Fire Serpent spoke, its entire body ignited with flames, yet these were cold flames, devoid of any heat. This was Fire Serpent's innate skill, Frost Venom Flame. The flame slowly crept toward Daniel Walker, enveloping him. The surrounding beasts trembled slightly. Truthfully, while this place didn't permit actual death, Fire Serpent was an exception. If it accidentally killed someone, their owners wouldn't know where to cry for help. Moreover, Fire Serpent's strength was formidable, making it far from an easy opponent. Moments earlier, Everyone had noticed that Daniel Walker had confronted Fire Serpent directly to save 3 other beasts, which left them feeling somewhat concerned.
"These flames are so cold,"
Daniel Walker remarked curiously, playing with them. His body continued to absorb the energy from the flames, leaving him feeling incredibly refreshed. Fire Serpent hadn't expected him to endure for so long and instinctively increased the intensity of its flames. Yet the power kept vanishing, and Daniel Walker remained completely unharmed. Shorty Croc and the others, unaware of what was truly happening, burst into laughter upon seeing Daniel Walker engulfed in flames.
"Weren't you acting all tough just now? Let's see if you can keep it up. Who is our boss? It's none other than Fire Serpent. You weaklings tremble in fear. I say, you ugly thing, why are you so talkative? Seems like I should shut your mouth for good."
Daniel Walker's voice echoed from within the flames. Fire Serpent flicked its snake tongue, feeling a bit irritated. What was going on with this guy? Why were its flames useless?
"Oh my, to be honest, your cool flames are even more pleasant than the gusts from that little blue bird. Summer feels so refreshing now. Turn it up a bit more. I still feel a little warm,"
Daniel Walker said casually. Fire Serpent instantly felt both embarrassed and furious.
"You brat, you're asking for death."
It increased its power, gathering all its flames to completely engulf Daniel Walker. The figure of Daniel was no longer visible from the outside.
"Ah! This is the feeling. So cool and refreshing, truly the perfect summer vibe." "Refreshing?"
Fire Serpent sneered.
"Do you think pretending to be tough will help you? My flames may be cold, but they'll burn your fur, flesh, and bones to ashes. Now that you mention it, it does seem like my fur has gotten darker,"
Daniel Walker remarked. Fire Serpent outside nodded in satisfaction.
"Oh no, my arm is so dark now."
The surrounding beasts blinked, thinking to themselves, wasn't his arm already black to begin with?
"Oh, my eyes are dark too. And my ears, my legs, even my tail."
At this moment, Fire Serpent's expression froze. It suddenly remembered this guy's appearance. His fur was already black.
"You dare mock me like this?"
Fire Serpent hissed furiously, letting out a long shriek. It immediately withdrew its flames, though it had no choice but to do so. It could no longer sustain them, but it couldn't let anyone notice that. What about its pride? Fire Serpent directly coiled its tail around Daniel Walker. The constricting power of snakes was formidable, and with Fire Serpent's strength, it could easily crush any spirit beast below level 6. But Daniel Walker was no longer at level 6. He looked at Fire Serpent tightening its grip with a face full of enjoyment.
"Sigh, I really shouldn't have said those things earlier."
Daniel Walker let out a deep sigh, his tone carrying a hint of regret.
"What? Begging for forgiveness? Too late."
Fire Serpent's heart flickered with satisfaction.
No, earlier I misunderstood you. I thought you were an unfilial child who disobeyed his father. Who would have thought you'd massage me so attentively? I'm quite pleased."
Daniel Walker responded maturely. Yet, his childish voice was truly amusing to others. However, no one dared to laugh in front of Fire Serpent. Fire Serpent roared angrily once more.
"How dare you!"
It spoke, then directly opened its mouth to bite Daniel Walker's head. But Daniel Walker's skin had become incredibly tough by now. While its teeth could pierce the hide of a 7th level spirit beast, Daniel Walker was an entirely unique existence. At this moment, he was no different from a walking punching bag. Although the outer layer of his skin was torn, Fire Serpent found it difficult to proceed further.
"Oh, are you trying to give me a head massage? Too bad I didn't give you limbs back then, or else you wouldn't have to rely solely on your mouth,"
Daniel Walker remarked, feeling only a slight prick, then nothing more, so he paid it no mind. Fire Serpent, with Daniel Walker in its mouth, obviously couldn't speak but grew even angrier. Though it was a python, and pythons typically weren't venomous, Fire Serpent was different. It possessed the innate venomous fire essence, which it directly injected into Daniel Walker's body. Daniel Walker's body immediately trembled, his hair standing on end in an instant, his muscles tensing up. Fire Serpent was instantly very satisfied. He felt that his poison had indeed injured Daniel Walker. Shorty Croc exclaimed from the side,
"Boss is mighty! Long live the boss! That guy is definitely done for."
The lizard also jumped up, shouting,
"Boss is mighty! Long live the boss! Shut up! How dare you mimic my tone? Tired of living, huh?"
Shorty Croc kicked the lizard, sending it flying. The lizard immediately shrank back in grievance, lowering its head without daring to say another word. Meanwhile, Daniel Walker suddenly let out a sigh on the other side.
"Oh my, this feels so good, I can't even put it into words."
Daniel Walker's voice sounded intoxicated. He truly hadn't expected the venomous fire essence, the life essence of the fire serpent, to be so potent. Just one dose had sent him into a state of euphoric numbness. Too bad there wasn't more of it.
"Give me a little more. This feels amazing."
A glint of astonishment flashed in the fire serpent's eyes. Realizing that this guy seemed completely fine, it hesitated to release more venomous fire essence. After all, that was its precious life essence. But could it really just let this go? It hesitated, twisting around Daniel Walker, unsure of what to do. If it released more, it would lose face. If it didn't, it couldn't do anything to him.
"You ungrateful creature! I told you to continue, didn't you hear me?"
Daniel Walker grew anxious when he saw it remain motionless.
"You're asking for it."
Fire Serpent's eyes filled with rage once again. It poured another dose of venom into his body. Daniel Walker was so overwhelmed with pleasure that he couldn't even scream.
"Ah!"
His entire body went limp, completely captivated by the intoxicating power coursing through him.
"Keep going."
His voice sounded weak. The fire serpent hesitated for a moment, but ultimately decided to continue. Surely, this guy couldn't hold on any longer. He was just being stubborn. And so, it poured in more venom. However, this time, its own body began to weaken, and the colors on its scales grew noticeably duller. Daniel Walker was so comfortable that he drifted off to sleep. Sensing that the thing in its mouth was now still and unmoving, the fire serpent felt a surge of relief and spat him out. Daniel Walker dropped to the ground, stirred slightly, but refused to open his eyes. It felt too good. He just wanted to sleep. So he curled up and quietly lay there, unmoving. The beasts around him fell silent for a moment, assuming he was dead. A faint sense of pity arose in their hearts. Chapter 19. Wow, a sound. Fire Serpent sneered.
"This kind of fool who doesn't know their place ends up like this. The same goes for all of you. If any of you dare to disobey."
The group of beasts fell silent, not daring to make a sound. Shorty Croc excitedly slapped his tail against the ground with a loud
smack, smack. "See that? This is the price of rebellion. Do you even realize who my boss is? Do you little runs think you can resist him?"
Perhaps too caught up in his excitement, the spirit stones on Shorty Croc's head fell off. The lizard quickly picked them up and flattered him.
"Your spirit stones fell, sir."
Shorty Croc, mid-speech, was suddenly interrupted. Instinctively, he touched the pouch on his head. Feeling a bit embarrassed, he glared at the lizard.
"So what if they fell? Do you think I'm short of a few spirit stones?"
"Ridiculous." The lizard immediately nodded repeatedly.
"Yes, yes. But speaking of spirit stones, you little runts, why aren't you handing over your tributes yet?"
Fire Serpent glanced at the beasts, who were too angry to speak but didn't dare to act out. Satisfied, he nodded, determined to maintain his imposing image.
"I'll leave this to you.
he said. He needed time to recover. His vital essence had been severely depleted. Who would have thought that guy from the opposing group would be so tough?
Don't worry, boss. I've got this.
Shorty Croc pounded his chest confidently. After Fire Serpent left, Shorty Croc became even more arrogant, placing his hands on his hips.
What are you standing around for? 1 beast, 10 spirit stones. Not a single stone less. 10?
The group of beasts cried out in distress. They were merely younglings in the beginner zone. How could they possibly have so many items?
Exactly. Hurry up.
Shorty Croc shouted as he approached Daniel Walker, swinging his tail to send him flying.
Humph. Ha!
Shorty Croc smugly chased after him, kicking him around on the ground for amusement.
How dare you hit me? Now, if you've got the guts, hit me back. Come on. Show me what you've got.
Shorty Croc continued to sweep Daniel Walker back and forth with his tail, feeling both delighted and vindicated. Daniel raised his hand to shield the snacks on his head. Beneath the white cloth, there was still a swollen bump from yesterday's beating.
You damn bastard. How dare you ruin my handsome image? Take this.
Shorty Croc directly swung his tail, aiming to strike Daniel Walker's face. Daniel Walker, who had been sleeping soundly, was starting to wake up after being kicked and rolled around repeatedly. However, Shorty Croc's blows didn't hurt much. In fact, they felt oddly soothing, making it hard for Daniel to distinguish reality. He was dreaming, a dream where he had transformed back and was sitting before a grand Manchuan feast. Suddenly, a massive chicken drumstick flew toward his face. Without thinking, he opened his mouth and bit hard into it.
Ah!
Shorty Croc let out a blood-curdling scream, startling the group of beasts who had been handing over their money to the lizard. They immediately turned to look. They saw Daniel Walker, who had somehow started moving, clutching Shorty Croc's tail with both his hands and feet, biting and tearing at it relentlessly. Exclamation point. The group of beasts stared at each other in shock.
He's not dead?
The more Daniel Walker bit, the more something felt off. Why did it taste so raw and fishy? Could it be uncooked? And why was it moving? There were even agonized screams. He groggily opened his eyes and saw Shorty Croc wailing in pain. He glanced down at his arms and realized that Shorty Croc's tail was mangled, bloodied, and even seemed shorter than before. Meanwhile, his mouth had a faint metallic taste of blood.
Oh no! No way!
Daniel Walker quickly threw the tail out of his grasp, spitting repeatedly and dry heaving. He had eaten meat. Was he going to get a stomachache?
What should I do? What if I get sick from this?
Daniel Walker's eyes brimmed with tears as he looked around helplessly. If not for the blood stains around his mouth, he might have appeared pitiful. But now, the beasts only felt terror. In truth, Daniel Walker was overthinking it. Pandas do occasionally eat small bamboo rats. However, Daniel Walker now didn't know what would happen if he ate meat. Feeling anxious, he paced back and forth, muttering incessantly. On the other side, Shorty Croc was clutching his tail, crying out miserably while spinning in circles, his eyes brimming with tears. The two spun around for a while before suddenly falling silent and looking at each other. Shorty Croc stared for a moment, and then tears began streaming down his face. Letting out a loud wail, he turned and ran away without looking back. Daniel Walker watched him run off, feeling utterly wronged.
Stop right there! What if I get a stomachache? You have to take responsibility for this.
Daniel Walker shouted, stomping his short legs as he chased after him. The lizard watched the two suddenly leave, staring blankly at the spirit stones in his hands. Suddenly, he felt a menacing gaze.
Ha ha! Do you dare to steal our spirit stones?
Little Blue Feather said, his eyes gleaming dangerously as he stared at the lizard. The group of beasts exchanged glances before charging forward all at once. The spirit stones in the lizard's hands immediately fell to the ground, scattering everywhere. He felt wronged. He was just a beggar, yet everyone bullied him. Shorty Croc was, in fact, only equivalent to a human teenager of 13 or 14 years old. He wasn't very big to begin with, and after Daniel Walker bit off his tail, he was truly heartbroken. He had even planned to pursue Lois Clark, the girl next door. Lois had once complimented his tail, saying it was beautiful and that when they grew older, she would marry him. But now, his tail had a broken segment, and the remaining part was a bloody mess. He would never be able to marry Lois Clark anymore. From now on, he swore never to provoke that black and white brat again.
"Stop right there!"
A childish voice came from behind. Shorty Croc immediately trembled in fear and ran even faster, not forgetting to shout,
"Boss, save me!"
Fire Serpent, of course, couldn't save him. It was currently in seclusion, recovering from the severe depletion of its vital essence. It was in a weakened state and needed to regain its strength quickly. Daniel Walker, who was chasing from behind, was also struggling. He was giving it his all, but speed wasn't his forte. He had never seen that panda run around like the wind before. He kept chasing and chasing, but eventually lost sight of the lizard. Bewildered, he glanced around. This place was entirely different from the beginner zone. The beginner zone was just a plaza, but this area had trees. He walked to a stream, washed his face, and rinsed his mouth. Otherwise, the metallic taste of blood was unbearable.
"You've got guts! A little brat like you dares to come into my territory?"
A voice came from behind. Daniel Walker turned around and saw a flamboyant peacock glaring at him.
"My territory?"
Daniel Walker's face was blank, but his mind was already calculating.
"That's right. Meeting someone as noble as me, shouldn't you pay your respects?"
The peacock arrogantly flicked its tail. Daniel Walker immediately blinked, then angrily said,
"Did you just steal my line? Your line? What are you talking about?"
The peacock looked confused.
"As noble as me. That's what I'm supposed to say,"
Daniel Walker retorted.
"Huh?"
The peacock mocked, giving him a once-over and sneering.
"Someone like you, with such a dull appearance and that boring black and white color scheme, is so ugly it's unbearable. Look at me, my green feathers shimmer under the sunlight, vibrant and dazzling. Seeing someone as beautiful, noble, and splendid as me, don't you feel ashamed of yourself? You're the ugly one. Look at yourself, all gaudy and flashy, it's unbearable. Don't you know that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication? The most beautiful style is the simplest color combination, like mine,"
Daniel Walker said angrily. Chapter 20. The Peacock Shows Off.
"Ha ha! A foolish fledgling without any splendid appearance. I'll forgive your rudeness, considering your youth, you fat and ugly creature lacking any grace or beauty before me."
The peacock raised its head arrogantly, spreading its tail feathers behind it. The magnificent plumage fanned out like a screen, truly radiant and dazzling. Particularly, the emerald green hues shimmered under the sunlight, as if encrusted with countless sparkling gemstones. Even Daniel Walker couldn't help but admit that this peacock's feathers were stunningly beautiful.
"Beautiful, isn't it?"
The peacock noticed him staring, seemingly mesmerized, and proudly shook the plume atop its head. Its tail feathers quivered, scattering star-like sparkles, becoming even more resplendent.
"All right, it's very beautiful."
Daniel Walker could hardly bring himself to lie.
"Humph. Since you said that, I'll let this slide for now."
The peacock arrogantly retracted its tail feathers. Daniel Walker clicked his tongue, feeling that this bird's plumage was somehow even more exquisite than any peacock he'd seen at the zoo.
"Do you maintain your feathers? They seem even more gorgeous than the ones I've seen before."
Daniel Walker remarked. Hearing this, the peacock immediately beamed at him, thinking that this black and white puffball in front of it wasn't entirely without redeeming qualities. It seemed this creature wasn't all that ugly, just lacking in splendor.
Of course, I take great care of my feathers. Look at you, dull and colorless. How about this? I'll take you to get a little decoration.
Daniel Walker blinked in surprise and asked,
Decoration?
The peacock nodded and led him to its lair. Inside the cave, there were countless sparkling gemstones and a large number of spirit stones. Daniel Walker's jaw dropped as he let out an "Oh!" His mind raced with calculations. If he could take these, just the gemstones alone would be enough to live lavishly for a lifetime.
How about it? All of these are my treasures. Aren't they beautiful?
The peacock, seeing his reaction, was immediately pleased and patted his shoulder, feeling that this puffball was quite to its liking.
So beautiful.
Daniel Walker wiped away his drool and said,
Really gorgeous. But I still think your feathers are even more stunning.
He wanted to cozy up to the peacock. With so many gemstones and spirit stones, and given how naive this peacock seemed, maybe he could trick it somehow.
Of course.
The peacock proudly spread its tail feathers again. Indeed, compared to the gemstones in the cave, its tail was even more dazzling. Daniel Walker suddenly stared intently at its tail. If he could take those feathers outside, would they fetch a good price? He was very tempted to pluck one. Peacock King had no idea he was being targeted, simply assuming the other was admiring his beauty. Feeling proud, he spun around twice and soared into the air, radiating an indescribable splendor.
Am I beautiful? Am I beautiful?
After landing, Peacock King's cheeks flushed with excitement, his feathers glowing.
Beautiful. So beautiful. There's a saying I remember, from afar, as radiant as the morning sun, up close, as dazzling as a lotus on clear water. That saying perfectly describes you.
Daniel Walker racked his brain, pulling out every bit of literary knowledge he had accumulated over the past 20 years. Hearing this, Peacock King's eyes lit up, his breath quickened, and with a flutter of his wings, he bashfully replied,
Oh, I'm not that beautiful.
But seeing that look in Peacock King's eyes, clearly wanting to hear more compliments, Daniel immediately understood. In a soft, earnest tone he added,
It's true, you're really that beautiful. Truly, Peacock King is as stunning as a celestial being, a jade phoenix descended to the mortal world. I think even a phoenix might not match your beauty.
Peacock King seemed ready to soar into the skies with excitement. He darted into his cave, grabbed a handful of gemstones, and stuffed them into Daniel Walker's hands.
You've truly made me so happy. This is the first time I've met someone who truly understands me. You appreciate my beauty so much, you must be a good person. Don't worry, from now on, I'll protect you. I'll keep you safe.
Daniel Walker accepted the gemstones with a beaming smile and said,
You're too kind. From now on, we'll share blessings and endure hardships together. Agreed. From now on, we're brothers.
Peacock King declared boldly.
Oh, by the way, my name is Peacock King. And you? My name is Daniel Walker, but you can call me Little Dumpling. All right, sticky rice balls. From now on, rest assured, if I have a bite of rice, I'll definitely save you a sip of soup.
Daniel Walker nodded excitedly. He glanced at the spirit stones emitting spiritual energy in the cave, his heart racing. He wanted them so badly.
Brother Peacock King, I think I need to head back now.
Daniel Walker sighed.
Head back? Leaving already? Stay and hang out with me a bit longer.
Peacock King looked surprised.
I can't.
Daniel Walker's eyes carried a hint of sadness and sorrow. The trees in the forest swayed gently in the breeze, their rustling leaves harmonizing with the sunlight filtering through the canopy, casting dappled shadows on the ground. This serene beauty only accentuated the heavy grief surrounding Daniel Walker.
"What's wrong?"
Peacock King asked with concern. Aside from Daniel Walker being someone who matched his tastes perfectly, Peacock King felt a unique fondness for this little companion. In truth, Peacock King was only equivalent to a human teenager in age, but the sudden appearance of someone even younger who acknowledged him as a big brother stirred a protective instinct within him.
"It's nothing. It's just that Big Brother Peacock King has been so kind to me. I don't even know if I'll get to see you again."
Daniel Walker sniffled, tears streaming down his face. Peacock King suddenly felt a pang of heartache. This was the first creature in his life that shared his interests, his humor, and even praised him so earnestly. He couldn't just stand by and let anything happen to him.
"What's going on? Who's bullying you? Let me see. I'll handle them,"
Peacock King roared, releasing a powerful aura. Daniel Walker was shocked to realize that Peacock King was actually a level 8 spirit beast. Wasn't a level 8 spirit beast supposed to reside in high-level regions? Though puzzled, Daniel Walker didn't question it. Instead, he appeared even more pitiful, his tearful eyes brimming as he curled up into a ball, clutching the gemstones tightly in his arms. His helpless demeanor and glistening tears made him look even more vulnerable.
It's my master. She's the least favored member of the Reed family. Recently, she's been bullied by the deputy steward of the martial arts hall. The deputy steward is so powerful, and my little master is already despised by the Reed family. I'm really scared."
A flash of killing intent briefly flickered in Peacock King's eyes. He then flapped his wings and patted Daniel Walker, saying,
"That deputy steward is far too arrogant. But don't be afraid. I said I'd protect you, and I will. However, I might not be able to openly confront the deputy steward to help you. But rest assured, if you're ever in danger, I absolutely won't stand idly by. I'll definitely help you,"
Peacock King declared solemnly.
"It's all right. He can't really do much to me anyway. I may not have any skills, but I've got thick skin and sturdy flesh. It's just my poor little master I feel sorry for. She doesn't even have enough to eat."
As Daniel Walker spoke, he recounted the mistreatment Anna Reed endured. His words were genuine, as the Reed family truly treated Anna Reed unfairly. Peacock King felt deeply moved after hearing his story. Chapter 21.
"I didn't expect your master to be in an even worse situation than mine,"
Peacock King sighed. Daniel Walker blinked and asked,
"Is your master in a bad state too?" "Indeed, although, never mind. By the way, you saw my strength earlier, didn't you? Don't tell anyone about it. My master doesn't allow me to reveal it, or else we'll face big trouble."
Daniel Walker was a bit surprised. It seemed this Peacock King had his own story as well.
"I didn't expect us to share the same kind of misfortune,"
Daniel Walker thought to himself. He was curious as to why the Peacock King, clearly at the 8th tier, still had to be so cautious, but he knew better than to let curiosity kill the cat.
"That's right, my master's situation isn't much better than your little master's, but don't worry, I keep my promises. Oh, and although I can't openly assist you, I can give you spirit stones. Use them to enhance your little master's strength, and yours too."
As Peacock King spoke, he handed over spirit stones to Daniel Walker as if they were worthless, which made Daniel feel a bit awkward. He had initially planned to trick this Peacock King for some money, given how boastful and flashy the creature was. But to his surprise, the Peacock King turned out to be so naive, and genuinely seemed to treat him like a younger brother. Daniel Walker cleared his throat, and only took a few spirit stones, leaving the rest behind.
"You should keep the rest. I'll just take a few, that's enough. Besides, if I carry too many spirit stones, it'll attract attention, and it wouldn't be good if someone tried to rob me."
He truly couldn't bring himself to deceive this naive Peacock King any further. Moreover, the other party was not only wealthy but also powerful. If the master was anything like the servant, yet still lived poorly, then they might indeed be worse off than Anna. Daniel Walker felt that this might have something to do with some family matters, but he wasn't entirely sure.
You don't have a spatial artifact? Never mind. Since your little master is in such a pitiful state, just come find me whenever you need money in the future,
Peacock King said generously.
Really?
Daniel Walker's eyes lit up. Looking at the pile of treasures in the cave, he suddenly felt like he had truly latched onto a golden goose.
Of course. From now on, you're my little brother,
Peacock King declared proudly.
Oh, right.
He seemed to remember something and suddenly dove into a pile of treasures.
Here, take this. It's one of my tail feathers that fell out before, back when I was still at the 7th tier. It can unleash one of my innate 7th tier magical abilities, Peacock King's Blessing. It can counter 8th tier beasts and humans, and if it's a human, you might even stand a chance against a 9th tier opponent.
Peacock King looked smug as he showed off. The tail feather he presented was incredibly dazzling, as if plated with gold, shimmering brilliantly. The green feathers resembled jade, translucent and exquisite. This long, magnificent tail feather truly looked like a perfect piece of art. However, Daniel Walker also noticed that its color was not as beautiful as the colors on his own body at the moment. At least, the fine feathers, semi-fine feathers, and small down feathers lacked the gleam. Moreover, he could sense a type of power hidden within it, making his body instinctively desire to devour it.
This, is it very valuable?
It could potentially deal with a 9th level human. Surpassing levels is the hallmark of a protagonist. Could this peacock be a once-in-a-century genius, or one with a special bloodline?
Of course. Every time I advance a level, I shed a feather, and within it lies all of my power from that stage. That's why I usually don't give it to anyone, not even my master,
the Peacock King said proudly.
Then why are you giving it to me? Just take it. After all, I'm already at level 8 now, and I can use 8th level power, which is even stronger.
The Peacock King spoke as he handed Daniel Walker a magical incantation.
Try this, it can make it shrink. When you use it, just pour your power into it, and wave it at your enemy.
The Peacock King eagerly watched Daniel Walker, hoping for praise, much like a child seeking approval. Daniel Walker's eyes showed a hint of helplessness. He couldn't use the incantation because he didn't possess spiritual energy. Any spiritual energy entering his body would be absorbed and could not exist within him.
What's wrong? Don't you like it?
The Peacock King, seeing his silence, immediately started worrying. He rummaged around and pulled out a scroll.
This contains a 7th level spell. You just need to pour spiritual energy into it and tear it apart to activate it. This is for you too.
Daniel Walker looked at him with some emotion, but then shook his head and said,
Can you sense any power within me?
The Peacock King blinked and carefully sensed for a moment before exclaiming in surprise.
Could it be that you really? I thought you were like me, with a treasure concealing your power. I didn't expect.
Daniel Walker looked at him with some astonishment. In truth, he couldn't sense the spiritual energy fluctuations from the Peacock King either, so he had no way of knowing. No wonder, even though the Peacock King was already at the 8th level, he was still in the intermediate zone. The beginner zone ranged from the 1st to 5th levels, the intermediate zone spanned the 6th and 7th levels, while the 8th and 9th levels should be in the advanced zone.
Don't be sad. Even if you can't cultivate, it doesn't
matter. I've already said I'll protect you, and I absolutely won't go back on my word.
The Peacock King, seeing his silence, assumed he was upset.
Even if you might not have the long lifespan that I do, I will always treat you as my younger brother. During the time you're alive, I'll take care of you and protect you. I swear.
At this moment, the Peacock King didn't yet realize that he had just committed himself for a lifetime. This place, after all, has its own rules. Very few people dare to swear lightly because if they fail to fulfill their oath, there will truly be retribution. Hence, Peacock King's vow was immediately recognized by the heavenly law and took effect. Daniel Walker felt deep down that he shouldn't have deceived him at that moment. After thinking for a while, he said,
"Actually, it's not that I can't cultivate. It's just a bit complicated. I can absorb magic to level up, but I can't use magic."
"I understand." Peacock King hugged him tightly, assuming Daniel Walker was trying to console himself. "Fine, as long as you understand. No need to clarify what exactly you understand."
"So what about this tail feather?"
Daniel Walker looked at the beautiful feather, thinking that even selling it would fetch a good price. Of course, if he gave it to Anna, it would be a life-saving treasure. In the first heavenly realm, the highest level is only the 9th rank. With this, Anna would have the ability to protect herself. Even if the Reed family wanted to make things difficult, they'd have to think twice.
"The gift I give you is never to be taken back, but the fact that you can't use magic is a problem. How about this? I'll ask my master to give it to your master instead."
Peacock King thought for a moment and suggested.
"That works."
Daniel Walker nodded. This time, as they continued talking, he shared many other things with Peacock King, unlike earlier when it was all nonsense.
"By the way, Brother Peacock King, can you surpass levels?"
Daniel Walker asked. Peacock King immediately let out a proud snort and said,
"Of course. I thought you'd never ask. I've been waiting for you to ask me that."
Daniel Walker was astonished, watching Peacock King's smugness ascend to a whole new level of self-admiration.
"Do you know what my bloodline is?" "Peacock King's feather. Half of my bloodline is pure. Once I slowly shed my old self and transform my entire bloodline, I'll truly become a nobler being with pure blood."
Chapter 22. Is this your master?
"After the transformation, then what?"
Daniel Walker asked curiously.
"Of course, I'll become even more magnificent. Otherwise, why would anyone bother transforming?"
Peacock King fluttered his feathers, his eyes filled with anticipation and hope.
"For me, my lifelong pursuit is beauty. As long as it's beautiful, I love it. I want to become the most beautiful existence in the 9 heavens realm. That's my dream."
Daniel Walker's jaw dropped as he looked at the radiant eyes of the Peacock King, realizing that this was truly his lifelong ambition.
"That's a great aspiration. I look forward to hearing about your title as the most beautiful being in the 9 heavens realm someday."
Daniel Walker wholeheartedly supported him.
"Really? Do you really think so?"
Peacock King was immediately overjoyed. He spread out his dazzling tail feathers, shaking them lightly, and in his excitement, he soared into the air, dancing gracefully before landing back down, his eyes sparkling as he looked at Daniel Walker.
"You're amazing. You're the first person to truly appreciate me. Even my master thinks my dream is ridiculous, but I don't care. I'm just chasing beauty. Why can't that be my path?"
As soon as Peacock King descended the mountain, he began chatting away to Daniel Walker, recounting how he was the most beautiful in his clan during his youth, winning every beauty contest. However, after following his master, he realized their ideals were entirely different, leading to a period of self-abandonment. Fortunately, his master was kind. The contract they signed was the most basic form of equal contract, allowing either side to terminate it. But with such a good master, Peacock King had no intention of breaking it. Daniel Walker pondered for a moment. Among all types of contracts, equal contracts had the least binding force. However, they also carried the risk of betrayal, which was why most people opted for master-servant contracts. That said, when a spiritual beast's strength surpassed that of a human, and considering the long journey they would share, humans rarely enslave spiritual beasts, because here, the status of spirit beasts and humans is equal. Moreover, regardless of the type of contract, the closer the relationship, the higher the compatibility. When the two sides connect spiritually, they can unleash immense power. As for the blood pact, it is even more domineering. Essentially, it is also an equal contract, but once signed, it cannot be dissolved. Typically, if one
party dies, the other, if strong enough, might not perish, but would suffer irreparable damage and permanent loss. Therefore, very few people sign a blood pact. That's why the Peacock King was fundamentally unaware that the few red feathers on its forehead were a characteristic of the blood pact.
Today, I'm truly happy, happier than I've ever been before. In the past, everyone in the clan envied my beauty, but later, even my master didn't approve of me. I used to feel inferior, wondering if I was truly so ugly that everyone rejected me.
Daniel Walker was stunned. No, you're not the least bit inferior. In fact, if you could be a little more modest, maybe everyone would praise you even more.
It's getting late. Let's go to the martial arts hall. I'll find my master and wait for your master too. Then, I'll give her the tail feather.
Daniel Walker nodded. Although today he came hoping to gain some benefits, but didn't achieve his goal, he felt this outcome was still quite good. Especially since he managed to cling to the thigh of a wealthy individual. From now on, he wouldn't have to worry about his small life anymore. He didn't feel the slightest sense of shame about becoming someone else's subordinate. However, the Peacock King's master did surprise Daniel Walker a bit. That person was none other than the very gatekeeper, who initially looked down on him with arrogance. Daniel Walker immediately felt a bit angry. This guy had treated Anna so poorly before. How could someone like this be the master of the Peacock King? Could it be that this child had been deceived?
Kevin, let me tell you, this is a friend I made. He's really nice. His name is Daniel Walker, but you can also call him Little Dumpling.
The Peacock King affectionately rubbed its head against his hand, pointing at Daniel Walker. The man looked at Daniel Walker, maintaining the same expression as before. However, judging by appearance alone, he was indeed handsome. No wonder the Peacock King, who pursued beauty, chose him. But that expression of his truly made people uncomfortable.
My name is Kevin Reed. I know you.
Daniel Walker pursed his lips and said,
I still remember the last time you threw me straight into a tree. Even if you're the master of Peacock King, I don't like you.
Peacock King immediately looked stunned and asked,
You two have met before? What happened? Little Dumpling, don't be scared by his appearance. Outside, he has no choice but to act intimidating otherwise. Peacock King!
Kevin Reed called out, cutting him off. Peacock King instantly fell silent. In truth, Daniel Walker also thought Peacock King was like a loudspeaker. Just a bit of flattery, and it would sell him out in an instant, foolish to the point of being heartbreaking.
Kevin, I want to give the tail feather I shed last time to its owner. Could you help me deliver it?
Peacock King blinked at Kevin Reed. Kevin Reed was silent for a moment before nodding and saying,
All right. Great. Here you go.
Peacock King excitedly summoned its tail feather. The place where they were talking was quite secluded, so Peacock King wasn't worried about being discovered. However, it was actually quite dangerous. If Anna Reed were to use this tail feather later, it could expose Peacock King's true strength. After all, in the Reed family, only it possessed the bloodline of Peacock King's feather. To outsiders, it merely claimed to have a trace of ancient bloodline, not daring to reveal its true ancestral heritage. Peacock King, being somewhat dim-witted, didn't consider these implications. But Kevin Reed couldn't ignore them. He glanced at Daniel Walker before temporarily putting the tail feather away, then picked him up. Daniel Walker looked at him warily.
I'll take you to find Anna Reed,
Kevin Reed said, meeting his gaze. Peacock King eagerly followed along, exclaiming,
I also want to meet Little Dumpling's master.
Anna Reed was currently in the martial arts hall, attending a lecture. However, she was seated at the very back and couldn't hear clearly. The lecturer wasn't using spiritual energy to amplify his voice, making it difficult for her to follow.
Anna Reed, come out here,
Kevin Reed called coldly from the doorway. The lecture was interrupted, and the instructor naturally wasn't pleased. But upon seeing Kevin Reed, his eyes flickered slightly, and he said nothing, instead turning his gaze toward Anna Reed.
You get out! Don't come back in!
Anna Reed felt a bit awkward, but seeing Daniel Walker, her concern for him grew even stronger. She quickly packed her belongings and headed outside.
Uncle Reed,
Anna Reed called out anxiously, as she noticed Kevin Reed taking her farther and farther away.
Did Little Dumpling offend you somehow? I apologize on their behalf. Please don't hold it against them.
Anna Reed hurriedly stepped forward, her tone filled with worry.
No,
Kevin Reed replied, glancing around before handing a sparrow feather to Anna Reed.
This is a
gift from the Peacock King for you. Take it.
After speaking, he also passed on a spell incantation to Anna Reed. Anna Reed stared in surprise at the sparrow feather in her hand. The spiritual energy emanating from it was overwhelmingly powerful, especially for someone as inexperienced as her.
Why?
Before she could finish her sentence, Kevin Reed had already placed Daniel Walker into her arms.
Peacock King, let's go.
The Peacock King nodded, casting a longing glance at Daniel Walker before flapping its wings and saying,
Next time, let's play together again. If anything happens, remember to call me.
Daniel Walker nodded, waving his little paw in response. Chapter 23.
What is going on here?
Anna Reed asked curiously. Her pheasant feathers had already shrunk back, but this was the first time she had received such a grand gift, leaving her feeling a bit uneasy.
Don't worry.
Daniel Walker recounted the events of the day. Only then did Anna Reed breathe a sigh of relief, though a trace of unease lingered. She looked at Daniel Walker and said,
Should we return the favor? After all, they've been so kind to you.
As the two spoke, they walked toward the courtyard, the evening sunlight stretching their shadows across the ground.
Then let's find something visually stunning. No need to worry about cost or value, as long as it's beautiful.
After all, the Peacock King cared only for things that were dazzlingly splendid, nothing else.
Visually stunning?
Anna Reed frowned slightly. Her life had never been intertwined with anything particularly beautiful.
That's right.
Anna Reed suddenly clapped her hands.
I just remembered, there's a forest of 10,000 snow pond flowers on Peach Mountain. They're about to bloom. How about we wait for them to blossom, and then invite them to see it?
Anna Reed had seen the flowers bloom once before. In that moment, it was as if even the moonlight in the sky had been stolen away. It was the most beautiful thing she could think of.
10,000 snow pond flowers?
Daniel Walker asked with some curiosity.
I remember hearing that it's a rare spiritual herb, isn't it?
Anna Reed glanced around. The place they lived was very remote, and no one would come here unless intentionally seeking it out.
That's right, but 10,000 snow pond flowers are spiritual in nature. If someone tries to take them, they immediately transform into ice and snow, disappearing into the heavens and earth. So I think, rather than telling people about their existence and causing them to vanish, it's better to let them remain quietly where they are.
Anna Reed's brows carried a gentle expression. Though she was still just a 7 or 8-year-old girl, her delicate features already hinted at an enchanting beauty. One could only imagine how stunning she would be when she grew up. Given the circumstances of her life, to have such a pure mindset was truly rare. Daniel Walker felt that his impulsive decision to form a pack back then was undoubtedly the right choice. This girl was worth protecting.
Shall we go take a look then?
Daniel Walker asked.
All right, let's go in the evening.
Anna Reed replied. Down Mountain was the place where they first met. Typically, this area had no spiritual beasts, and even ordinary animals were scarce. Only a few unintelligent creatures occasionally roamed around. The entire mountain was covered with peach trees. In truth, the mountain wasn't small. It stretched across 3 peaks. However, its only notable feature was the breathtaking view of blooming peach blossoms in spring. For cultivators, though, this place held no significance. The peach trees here were ordinary, mundane ones. For the members of the Reed family, who were accustomed to seeing spiritual peach trees in bloom, this place was even less remarkable. Nevertheless, Down Mountain was the territory of the Reed family, so no outsiders dared to venture here. Anna Reed led Daniel Walker straight into the depths of the mountain until they arrived at the entrance of a cave.
Is it inside?
Daniel Walker asked curiously.
Yes.
Anna Reed nodded. She had been here many times before. The 10,000 snow pond flower required a high concentration of spiritual energy, which explained why the land in Down Mountain was barren. Everything had been absorbed into this place. However, neither Anna Reed nor Daniel Walker fully understood this phenomenon. As they proceeded deeper into the cave, the path became increasingly narrow and constricted.
The exit ahead is very tight,
Anna Reed warned.
Follow me closely.
Daniel Walker nodded. By the time they finally emerged, Anna Reed had to crawl out entirely.
Anna, how did you discover this place?
Daniel Walker asked, feeling fortunate that his smaller frame allowed him to pass through. If he had been any larger, it would have been impossible.
There was a time when someone from my family was beating me. I kept running and accidentally stumbled upon it, Anna Reed explained casually. Yet, her words stirred an uncomfortable feeling in Daniel Walker. The space was so tight that only someone as frail as Anna could crawl through. What kind of torment had she endured to desperately seek such a hiding place?
Look! These are all 10,000 snow pond flowers. They bloom together, and it seems they're about to bloom soon,
Anna Reed exclaimed, pointing at a large clearing ahead with no trace of excitement in her tone. The area was rocky, but a massive hollow had been carved out above, allowing moonlight to stream in. The moon was almost full.
10,000 snow pond flowers bloom once every 3 years, always on the night of a full moon. It should be the day after tomorrow,
Anna Reed said expectantly. Daniel Walker observed the flowers before him. Compared to ordinary pond flowers, these were shrouded in a faint glow resembling moonlight. The ethereal radiance made the place feel dreamlike and surreal.
So beautiful,
Daniel Walker murmured. If they looked like this before blooming, how stunning would they be in full bloom? Curious, he reached out to touch one. But the flower seemed to shrink back slightly, trembling as though frightened. Even its leaves quivered.
Don't touch them,
Anna Reed quickly pulled him back.
They're very sensitive to touch. If they feel threatened, they won't hesitate to end their own lives,
Anna explained.
All right,
Daniel Walker replied, realizing just how delicate these fragile beings were.
But they are spiritual medicines, so how could they be captured?
Daniel Walker asked curiously.
I don't know.
Daniel Walker and his group returned, deciding to inform Peacock King the next day, but they realized they had no idea how to convey the matter.
How about going to the Elder Hall?
Anna Reed hesitated slightly.
Why go to the Elder Hall?
Daniel Walker was puzzled.
Uncle Reed is actually a disciple of the Great Elder, but I don't know why. In short, Uncle isn't welcomed. However, Uncle Reed has great talent, unlike me.
Daniel Walker's eyes flickered. No wonder Peacock King had to hide his abilities. They were probably also figuring out how to truly resolve the current situation. If their strength could reach the 9th rank, there likely wouldn't be anything to fear anymore. The Elder Hall was located at the very center of the Reed family, and was the most well-renovated place. Surrounding it was a spirit-gathering formation, making cultivation there twice as effective. When Daniel Walker stepped inside, he immediately felt his body slowly absorbing the spiritual energy in the air, causing his eyes to light up. He hadn't expected such a dense concentration of spiritual energy to be directly absorbable.
The Elder Hall is off-limits to unauthorized persons.
2 expressionless guards at the entrance blocked their way.
I want to ask if Uncle Reed is here?
Others used proper titles, like 11th Uncle, but Kevin Reed was an exception. No one acknowledged him. Anna Reed, being the most insignificant member of the family, didn't dare to call his name directly, and could only address him as Uncle Reed. The 2 gatekeepers frowned.
Which Uncle Reed? Everyone here is a Reed. There are so many Uncles Reed. How are we supposed to know which one you're looking for? Are you that bastard child? Get lost already. Who do you think you're annoying here?
Anna Reed's face turned pale, and she lowered her head awkwardly.
You 2 are nothing but gatekeeping dogs barking nonsense. Whose ears are you trying to pollute?
Daniel Walker immediately retorted angrily. Chapter 24, Humiliation. Anna Reed hurriedly looked at Daniel Walker and said,
Stop talking nonsense. Sorry, he's still too young to understand anything.
Daniel Walker apologized to the 2 disciples guarding the door, his eyes reddened, and his body trembling with anger. He opened his mouth to speak but stopped when he noticed Anna Reed looking over. Her eyes were red, on the verge of tears, yet there was a hint of warning in her gaze.
Keep that mongrel of yours in check. A bastard like that is only fit to form a contract with a powerless mutt like you. What are you still standing here for? Get lost.
Anna Reed quickly embraced Daniel Walker and led him away. Daniel Walker felt a surge of anger, but it stemmed from the pain he felt for Anna Reed. He was furious at himself for not having innate talents, like other spirit beasts. Otherwise, he would have killed those bullies on the spot.
Anna, I'm sorry.
Daniel Walker tugged at her sleeve, feeling utterly helpless. This girl was already walking on thin ice within the family. Was his behavior adding more trouble for her?
You don't need to apologize. You've done nothing wrong.
Anna Reed gently patted his head.
But you didn't do anything wrong either.
Daniel Walker's words caused Anna Reed's gaze to dim slightly. Her youthful face carried a maturity that seemed out of place for her age.
I know, but for now, I have to.
Live here. I always have to find ways to survive a little better. The Elders' Hall is where the elders reside. Even if Dumpling can withstand an attack from an 8th tier, what about a 9th tier? The Grand Elder is a 9th tier now, and I'm afraid something might happen to you.
A wave of discomfort surged in Daniel Walker's heart.
Anna.
He vowed to himself that he would change Anna's life here completely. He wanted to make sure no one dared to bully her ever again.
We can wait here. If we see them, we'll go talk to them.
Anna Reed decided firmly. She had made up her mind to respond in kind and wouldn't back down. Although Daniel Walker wanted to teach them a lesson, he had to consider Anna Reed's situation. If it were at the Spirit Beast Arena, it would be different, as Spirit Beasts had their own pride. There were unwritten rules there, and no one would report what happened inside to their masters. Otherwise, Fire Serpent wouldn't dare to blatantly collect protection fees like that. So, it's fine there, but when facing people, one must consider whether these individuals might cause trouble for Anna Reed. Daniel Walker sighed inwardly. Indeed, he had forgotten that he couldn't carry the burden of feeding an entire family alone. However, they had been waiting there all day and still hadn't seen Kevin Reed come out from inside. Although this place usually didn't have any disciples visiting, the inner disciples of the Reed family would train and attend classes in front of the elders' courtyard. Therefore, from their rooms, they could clearly see Anna Reed waiting over there. The two of them, Anna Reed, had to take turns leaving to eat in order to wait for him, but unfortunately, they hadn't seen Kevin Reed come out all day.
Look at that. The illegitimate child has been waiting there all day. What is she trying to do?
As classes were about to end, everyone started getting restless, especially the younger children. The older ones on the upper floors chose to ignore it. Their status wasn't low enough to argue over right and wrong with an illegitimate child of the family.
I don't know. Is that creature next to her spirit beast? It looks strange. What species is it? Who knows? But maybe we can give it a try? Good idea.
The group that had bullied Anna Reed before exchanged glances and suddenly said sinisterly,
"That spirit beast seems eerie. I suspected some kind of demonic beast."
"What?
Tell us quickly."
Everyone immediately looked excitedly at the group.
Ahem, here's the thing.
The leading child cleared his throat.
That demonic beast is strange. It seems like it's immune to attacks. No ordinary spirit beast would have such abilities. There's definitely something unusual about it. Immune to attacks? Is that true or not?
A group of people immediately grew curious.
How about?
A little girl dressed in purple suggested.
Let's go and check it out. I don't believe there's a spirit beast that doesn't fear attacks. It must be because you guys didn't strike hard enough.
But the other kids were, of course, unconvinced. However, this girl in purple was the granddaughter of the great elder, so they didn't dare to argue.
But what? Clearly, your skills are inferior.
Let's go!
I'll show you how capable I am.
The girl in purple waved her hand and took the lead. Since they were just a group of children, they naturally followed her, their faces brimming with excitement. Anna Reed and Daniel Walker glanced at the sunset in the sky and got up, intending to leave.
Stop right there.
The girl in purple, named Samantha Reed, was the granddaughter of the great elder, and her uncle was the clan leader. She had always been the most arrogant one. Anna Reed, of course, recognized her. It was precisely because of this that she felt even more nervous. Samantha Reed was entirely different from her. Their statuses were worlds apart, which meant Anna Reed could only avoid Samantha Reed every time. Otherwise, she would end up being bullied terribly since Samantha Reed could do whatever she pleased, while Anna had no choice but to endure.
That thing you're holding, let me see it.
Samantha Reed extended her hand.
He's my contracted spirit beast. I can't let you have him.
Anna Reed clutched Daniel Walker tightly, lowering her head. Though trembling in fear, she still managed to stammer out these words, which made Daniel Walker feel even more upset inside.
A contracted spirit beast?
Samantha Reed chuckled.
I didn't expect a mutt like you to have a contracted spirit beast. But your spirit beast does look quite unusual. Let me play with it for a bit, all right?
Samantha Reed said as she winked at the group behind her. A group of children immediately rushed forward, surrounding Anna Reed. Although many of them were around Anna Reed's age, Anna, who had been abused year-round and deprived of proper nutrition, looked 1 or 2 years younger than her peers. Thus, when surrounded by them, the girl
appeared even smaller and more fragile. Anna Reed clung tightly to Daniel Walker, lowered her head, bit her lip, and her eyes carried a trace of fear. Over the years, she had frequently been bullied by them, and their excessive antics went far beyond what an average person could imagine. She had once been forced to crawl on the ground like a dog, with food thrown on the floor for her to eat. She had been used as a punching bag for them to vent their anger whenever the commander scolded them. They had beaten her until her body was covered in bruises, only to laugh and disperse afterward. So, when she saw their malicious gazes, Anna Reed instinctively felt fear. Daniel Walker, now spiritually connected to her, could clearly sense her emotions, even though they couldn't yet use this connection to communicate. Suddenly, Daniel Walker broke free from her embrace. Chapter 25.
You shall not harm Anna. I will play with you.
Anna Reed immediately widened her eyes. Her mouth opened as if to call out for Daniel Walker.
Anna, do you trust me?
Daniel Walker turned his head back, his youthful face showing a serious expression.
I trust you.
Tears streamed down Anna Reed's face as she nodded desperately. She didn't want Daniel Walker to be bullied. After all, they still had their mentor. These people were not ones they could simply provoke.
Then just watch. I will protect you and make sure no one in the Reed family dares to bully you again.
Daniel Walker spoke each word firmly. Anna Reed widened her eyes in shock, staring blankly at Daniel Walker. Meanwhile, Samantha Reed and her group on the other side burst into mocking laughter.
This black and white thing is hilarious. He says no one in the Reed family will dare to bully Anna Reed?
Samantha Reed raised her head arrogantly, summoning her contracted beast with a wave of her hand.
Azure Skylark, teach this ignorant fool a lesson. Let him know that he and his master are nothing but lowly bastards. They are utterly unworthy of tainting the reputation of the Reed family.
A blue bird appeared, adorned with 3 feathers on its head. Its tail shimmered with a graceful glow, its body feathers exuding a sense of lightness, and its eyes full of pride. However, the moment it saw its opponent, its arrogance quickly dissolved, leaving only an awkward expression in its eyes. Daniel Walker, upon seeing the blue bird, immediately burst into laughter, his eyes narrowing with amusement.
Isn't this an old friend? Good evening.
The azure skylark let out an awkward chuckle and descended to the ground.
Good evening.
Samantha Reed couldn't believe it as she stared at her contract companion.
Jamie, what are you doing? Go teach him a lesson.
Jamie Cena immediately felt conflicted, looking at Samantha Reed. That guy, he's someone even the fire serpent couldn't handle. He frantically blinked at Samantha Reed, but she couldn't make out anything from his tiny, bead-like eyes. Furious, she pointed at Jamie Cena.
I order you. Right now, immediately, go kill him for me.
Jamie Cena glanced at Daniel Walker, who was sitting there. Daniel Walker stuck out his tongue at him, making a blah blah sound, which only added to Jamie's headache.
I can't deal with him,
he muttered under his breath.
Why not?
Samantha Reed exploded in anger.
Do you have some kind of relationship with him? Let me tell you, Jamie Cena, you are my contract beast. You can only listen to me. Whatever I tell you to do, you must do it.
Jamie Cena was instantly enraged. They, as spirit beasts, also had their dignity and pride. Take his Azure Lawn clan, for example. Even though his bloodline wasn't particularly outstanding, it still carried the lineage of the ancient Azure Lawn. How could he allow a human to order him around like this? The contract between him and Samantha Reed was merely an equal pact, not a master-servant contract. Calling her master was just out of courtesy. Daniel Walker rolled his eyes and said in a childish voice,
Hey, little Azure, did you sign a master-servant contract? That's rough. TSK. You'd better not disobey your master. Go ahead, attack me. I'll be fine. If you disobey her and get punished, that wouldn't be good.
Samantha Reed, hearing this, not only failed to see through the situation but smugly added,
That's right, you'd better behave and listen. Otherwise, don't you know the status and power of my father, grandfather, and uncles? I'll make sure you regret it.
She had been spoiled her entire life and had never regarded anyone, or any creature, as her equal.
Make me regret it?
Jamie Cena was furious, and the fur on his body stood on end.
I, Jamie Cena of the Bird Clan, hereby declare the contract with the human Samantha Reed is terminated.
Jamie Cena tilted his head back and roared to the sky, flapping his wings as he soared upward. A blue light simultaneously enveloped both him and Samantha Reed. When the light dissipated, the equal contract binding them came to an end. Spirit beasts cannot directly ascend to the celestial gate, so they often choose to form contracts with humans. However, they have their pride as well. After nullifying the contract, Jamie Cena flew above the Reed family estate, mocking disdainfully,
"You are not qualified to command me. If you want someone to obey you, find someone more capable."
With that, he flew away at once, exhaling in relief as he left.
"Expect me to fight that guy? Dream on! I don't even want to stay here anymore. With him around, how am I supposed to make myself useful?"
Those below were left dumbfounded, unable to believe what had just happened. The most shocked of all was Samantha Reed. She stared at herself in disbelief. The benefit of forming a contract was that when one party's strength increased, the other party's strength would also be elevated, at least by one level. However, once the contract was severed, the shared power would vanish as well. This power was purely a product of the bond, and without the contract, it naturally ceased to exist. Thus, Samantha Reed, who had always been hailed as a young genius and basked in the admiration of others, was now revealed to be far less talented than she appeared. Her strength had dropped to just the second tier. Anna Reed was also at the second tier, but unlike Samantha, Anna had no resources at her disposal. In fact, her training time was often taken away by others who bullied her, leaving her with only a small amount of time to cultivate each day. Moreover, Daniel Walker had not contributed any advancement to Anna Reed's growth, as his body contained no spiritual energy.
"No! Jamie Cena!"
Samantha Reed suddenly screamed toward the sky, her eyes filled with panic. At this moment, she looked no different from a child who had made a grave mistake. She called out repeatedly, but Jamie Cena had already left. Standing beside her, Daniel Walker clicked his tongue twice and remarked,
"If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it. Now, do you still want me to play along with you?"
Samantha Reed abruptly turned to glare at Daniel Walker, her eyes full of hatred.
"It's you? It's because of you that Jamie Cena abandoned me."
"Huh?" Daniel Walker's eyes widened in shock.
"How is this my fault? Is this girl's brain not fully developed or something? It's because of you. Die! Wind Blade!"
Samantha Reed summoned a level 2 spell, striking toward Daniel Walker. Daniel Walker neither dodged nor avoided it, taking her attack head-on. After feeling it for a moment, he shook his head and said,
"Too weak. I've fought Jamie Cena before, and his wind blade was far more powerful than yours. Yours feels like a gentle summer breeze at best. Die!"
Samantha Reed grew even angrier. The people around them gradually began to react to this sudden conflict.
"Daring to incite Samantha's spirit beast to break its contract. You're truly as devious as your master. The Reed family will never tolerate you. Die!"
Someone shouted, catching Daniel Walker off guard. He turned to see a skinny boy with shifty eyes. My goodness, so young yet already so skilled at making baseless accusations. This kid is definitely trouble in the making. The other children, hearing the boy's words, began to act as well. They all exerted their strength, eagerly casting spells at Daniel Walker. Eventually, their combined efforts brought him a slight sense of comfort. Still, it was far too mild. After all, these were just ordinary kids with level 1 or level 2 abilities, and their attacks lacked any real impact. Chapter 26. You said you would play with me.
"Kennedy! Help me!"
A boy suddenly summoned his contract beast.
"I'll attack!"
A large white rabbit appeared, leaping up to kick Daniel Walker. But as soon as it saw clearly who the other person was, its blood-red eyes immediately filled with terror. It desperately spun a full 360 degrees in midair and kicked its own master instead. The boy, unable to react in time, was sent flying. After scrambling to his feet, he held his face, now imprinted with the rabbit's paw, and looked at the rabbit in grievance.
Kennedy, why did you hit me?
Kennedy Young twitched its ears, speechless. It had always been close to this boy, so they could communicate succinctly. That person is an extremely terrifying existence. Think for yourself. Terrifying? Exactly. If you want to die, I won't stop you, but at least dissolve our contract first. The rabbit, frustrated and wishing it could,
Forge steel from iron,
shot the boy a glare before turning to look at Daniel Walker, who was observing the scene with amusement. Suddenly, it remembered that Daniel Walker had saved its life just the day before.
Also, he saved my life.
The boy's eyes widened in shock. He touched his face, still feeling aggrieved, and muttered,
He saved you? Fine, fine. I won't bully him or his master anymore. Good boy.
Kennedy Young, seeing the boy finally being reasonable, let out a sigh of relief and then turned to flatteringly nod at Daniel Walker. Daniel Walker snorted lightly, pointing at the boy.
Tell him to keep attacking me, and you too. Don't stop until you're completely exhausted.
Kennedy Young's ears immediately perked up as it cautiously assessed Daniel Walker. Realizing he was serious, the rabbit reluctantly nodded with a pained expression.
What's going on, Andrew? Why is your contract beast calling him boss?
Another disciple asked in confusion.
I don't know.
Andrew also wanted to know, but he had no status to question anything. Just one look from Kennedy Young was enough to make him tremble.
Earlier, Samantha's contract beast seemed to.
Someone suddenly spoke up in doubt, but quickly shut their mouth upon noticing Samantha Reed's dark expression. Still, unease began to spread in everyone's hearts.
Nyan, come out now. Dao Ji.
As a group of contract beasts appeared, the place instantly became lively.
What's going on?
Many of the summoned beasts still didn't know why they were called out. The flame golden pheasant, upon seeing Daniel Walker, immediately puffed up all its feathers.
Eddie! Did you provoke Daniel Walker again? Who?
The other beasts, startled, quickly looked around and finally landed their gazes on Daniel Walker. Daniel Walker gave them an innocent smile.
Daniel Walker. Why is he here? Oh my God!
In an instant, the scene turned chaotic, filled with noise and commotion. The jackal stared at Daniel Walker in terror, letting out a low whimper as it looked toward its owner.
Why did you call me here? Well, they want to beat me up.
A childish voice rang out first. The jackal's eyes immediately filled with fear.
Don't tell me you're the same?
The other beasts also turned to look at their owners. The group of children, slightly flustered by the scene, could only nod.
You all are insane.
The beasts stared at their contracted companions as if they were fools.
That guy is not someone you can mess with. Even Fire Serpent couldn't handle him, let alone you lot.
A voice from one of the beasts broke the silence, causing the kids to instantly pale.
Fire Serpent? Which Fire Serpent? The only one in the clan. Who else do you think?
Gasps filled the air as everyone turned to look at Daniel Walker in shock.
A 7th level spirit beast?
A cunning-looking boy blurted out, his face turning white as a sheet. Just moments ago, he had even accused them. The contracted beast beside him was none other than that monkey, which explained why it had been able to easily incite the other beasts to act together. It truly was like master, like servant. The others weren't much better off. No wonder their attacks had been useless. After all, the opponent was a 7th level spirit beast.
Ahem, well, our masters are still young and ignorant. We ask for your forgiveness as we take them away.
Kennedy Young clasped his hands together respectfully.
Yes. We'll leave immediately.
The beasts snapped out of their daze and chimed in hurriedly.
Leave?
Daniel Walker tilted his head.
Did I allow you to leave?
The courtyard fell silent.
Your master said to accompany me in my game. I haven't even started yet, and you already want to leave.
Daniel Walker sneered, glancing at them. The beasts could only glare at their contract-bound companions, clearly frustrated at their lack of awareness.
They're not even strong. What's the point of playing with them? Exactly. That's what makes it fun. All of you, attack me together now. Listen up, no one is allowed to leave unless you collapse from exhaustion.
At this moment, the evening sun was setting, casting a radiant golden glow over the Reed family's elder hall. The feng shui-inspired architecture, already grand, shimmered under the twilight, exuding a sense of opulence. In front of the elder hall, shimmering waves of seven-colored light danced, enhancing the dazzling scene. But for those casting the spells, there was no beauty to be seen. Their faces had turned pale, their breathing labored, and even some of the spirit beasts had collapsed onto the ground. Daniel Walker squinted in amusement. Forcing others to willingly unleash their magic like this seemed even more effective than trickery. At least in this scenario, the other party might realize something was wrong and stop.
Hey, look down there. What's going on?
Some of the intersect disciples, who had just finished their lessons, noticed the commotion. Unlike the younger children, these older teens had more responsibilities and studies, so they hadn't paid attention at first.
It looks like a group fight. Is that a spirit beast in the middle? Whose is it? Why is it being surrounded like that? Let me see. There are so many spirit beasts and people lying on the ground too. Let's go check it out.
Curious, they made their way down. Due to the age difference, while they knew Anna Reed, they hadn't interacted much with her. After all, their classes and daily interactions took place in different circles.
What are you all doing? Don't you know fighting is forbidden within the family grounds?
Seeing the older teens approach, the younger children immediately grew fearful, as many of them were their older siblings.
The
group, pale-faced and panting heavily, sat or lay sprawled across the ground, utterly drained. Even their contract-bound spirit beasts were in the same state. The older teens exchanged glances before turning their attention to Anna Reed, who stood there unfazed.
Who are you? She's Anna Reed,
Samantha Reed suddenly shouted. Among the crowd, she harbored the most resentment toward Daniel Walker.
Anna Reed?
The teens looked at one another. They knew of Anna Reed. She was nothing short of a disgrace to the family. They had even come to observe her before, but back then, the children were already bullying her, so they hadn't paid much attention. Chapter 27. Why don't you give it a try? After all, they were the most outstanding heirs of the Reed family, intersect disciples, and the hope of the family. There was no need to lower themselves. Randy Reed, Samantha Reed's cousin, frowned and said,
Anna Reed, you injured our clan members. Do you realize your crime?
Anna Reed was momentarily stunned. She looked at the people lying sprawled on the ground. Clearly, they were exhausted on their own.
Who are you? Without asking for the full story, you're quick to accuse. Are you blind? Anna is only at the second tier, and I don't even have any spiritual power. How could we possibly defeat so many of them?
Daniel Walker angrily jumped to his feet. The spirit beasts lying flat on the ground quietly rolled their eyes. No spiritual power? You're scarier than someone with it. Randy Reed didn't expect them to retort, and was momentarily at a loss for words, because Daniel Walker and the others genuinely seemed.
Then explain to me what happened here,
Randy Reed demanded angrily.
They attacked me, got tired from fighting, and collapsed on their own. I didn't even lift a finger,
Daniel Walker said indignantly. Indeed, he hadn't laid a hand on anyone. Randy Reed quickly scanned the surroundings and noticed that the others seemed completely drained of energy. But how could this be? There were so many of them, and even though none of them surpassed the second tier, dealing with a beast without spiritual power should have been as easy as turning a hand.
Brother, my blue phoenix has already broken its contract with me because of him.
Samantha Reed pointed at Daniel Walker. With someone to back her up, she burst into tears, sobbing pitifully and uncontrollably. Randy Reed hurriedly stepped forward to wipe her tears, and noticed that her fourth-tier strength had indeed dropped. His face darkened immediately. That blue phoenix had cost them considerable effort to obtain. And now, it had severed its contract?
Is this your doing?
Randy Reed abruptly turned to look at Daniel Walker, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Both his father and grandfather had instructed him to take good care of Samantha Reed while they were in seclusion. Now that something had happened to Samantha Reed, he couldn't shirk responsibility. Who knows how his grandfather would punish him when the time came?
What does this have to do with me?
Daniel Walker protested his innocence.
She was the one who ordered Jamie Cena to be humiliated. Jamie Cena couldn't take it and decided to dissolve the contract.
Randy Reed frowned. His younger sister was indeed capable of such behavior, but still.
My, what a lively scene!
A warm and friendly voice echoed. A rosy-cheeked, plump man appeared, accompanied by a chubby boy. Next to the chubby boy was a red fox, the same one that had previously warned Daniel Walker. Behind the plump man was another fox, a red fox with two tails. There was no doubt about it. This pair was father and son, and the two foxes were likely parent and child as well.
So it's Steward Fleck. What brings you here so late at night?
Randy Reed, as the clan leader's son, naturally held a respectable status. The plump man, known as Steward Fleck, was Arthur Fleck, the current steward of the service hall. He was an outsider and a guest of the Reed family, but also a shrewd merchant. While his personal strength wasn't remarkable, his contracted beast was exceptionally powerful. As for the chubby boy beside him, Richard Fleck, he was Arthur's son. Judging by their physiques, they were unmistakably father and son. Richard's contracted beast was also a red fox, the offspring of his father's contracted beast, making the two foxes very close. The smaller red fox glanced at Daniel Walker, its eyes darting slyly before it suddenly spoke.
He's the one who saved us last time.
Richard Fleck and Arthur Fleck's eyes lit up immediately, as they turned to look at Daniel Walker. They scrutinized him carefully, finding his appearance rather peculiar, which only piqued their curiosity. Especially after learning about Daniel Walker's actions, the two merchants couldn't help but think about how they might capitalize on this situation for profit. Of course, they had no intention of making enemies over it. After all, building connections was always better.
So you're the kid who saved my little home, huh?
These words made Randy Reed frown as he asked.
What do you mean by that? Ha, perhaps you don't know. This young fellow saved the spirit beasts in the primary zone during the conflict between the primary and intermediate zones. It's quite a favor, after all.
Arthur Fleck laughed with squinted eyes, his round face radiating a kind expression that left no room for criticism. Randy Reed frowned, showing dissatisfaction with Arthur Fleck's seemingly protective attitude toward Daniel Walker. However, he also understood that the family's profits in recent years had largely come from the contribution hall, especially since Arthur Fleck's involvement, which had multiplied the family's benefits several times over. In recent years, the expenses of the Martial Arts Hall and Spirit Beast Hall had grown significantly. Without the financial support of the contribution hall, the other halls would struggle. His father had also reminded him to tread carefully and not offend Arthur Fleck, who was, after all, an outsider to the family.
I didn't expect something like this. So why did you attack him? What exactly did he do? And what's this conflict between the primary and intermediate zones?
Randy returned to ask. He couldn't afford to offend Arthur Fleck, but he also couldn't ignore Anna Reed and Daniel Walker.
We attacked him because...
Everyone, including the beasts, hesitated and stammered.
They were playing with me. I love being attacked. It's so much fun.
Daniel Walker suddenly spoke up, his eyes filled with innocence and confusion. Many of the beasts inwardly rolled their eyes, some even wanting to curse out loud. Randy Reed was taken aback by his words and stared at him.
You like being attacked? That's right. This is the first time I've heard of someone enjoying that.
Randy Reed squinted his eyes. Daniel Walker looked at him expectantly.
So, do you want to play with me?
The corner of Randy Reed's mouth curled into a cold smile.
All right, I just hope you can handle my attacks.
Daniel Walker's face showed hesitation and deep thought, as if he were genuinely concerned. After a moment, he hesitated and said,
How about this? Every time I endure one of your attacks, you give me a treasure. A treasure? What kind of treasure?
Randy Reed asked. Daniel Walker thought for a moment, then shook his head and said,
Forget it, it's better not to. I'm afraid you'll lose too miserably, Hayes.
He shook his head, looking quite human. At least compared to ordinary spirit beasts, his actions and expressions seemed closer to that of a person. Arthur Fleck grew even more curious. Randy Reed's face darkened. At the age of 17 or 18, the prime age for pride, hearing Daniel Walker speak like that naturally made him furious.
I'll lose miserably. Why don't you try saying that again and show me what you've got? You really want to compete with me? Don't blame me for not warning you. I'm quite formidable. I don't think you have what it takes. Seriously, it's better if you don't compete with me. What if you lose so badly you can't handle it?
Daniel Walker looked at him doubtfully.
Ridiculous.
Randy Reed was so angry he burst out laughing.
I, the proud young clan leader, can't handle losing to some spirit beast of questionable origin? Watch closely.
He summoned dozens of treasures from his storage ring, each one appearing extraordinary. Chapter 28. Then bring it on.
I have so many treasures. Do you think I'd be afraid of losing to you? Every time I attack you, as long as you can endure without getting hurt at all, I'll let you pick any item you want.
Daniel Walker stared at the pile of treasures, his eyes sparkling with excitement as he nodded eagerly.
All right. Can I have your storage ring?
The moment he spoke, he asked for the rare storage ring, leaving Randy Reed momentarily stunned. However, Randy didn't believe for a second that Daniel could remain unharmed, so he gritted his teeth and agreed.
No problem. As long as you're not hurt at all under my attack, you can choose. But on the other hand, if you get injured, you lose, and you'll face the family's punishment. Encouraging a spirit beast to break its contract is a capital crime. Are you sure about this?
The corners of Randy Reed's mouth curled into a triumphant smirk. He couldn't believe that someone like Daniel, who had only cultivated to the 6th rank, could withstand his attacks unscathed. Even if Daniel's spirit beast was comparable to those from the intermediate region, there was no way it wouldn't at least get injured. Daniel Walker also smiled confidently, feeling secretly elated. Did Randy really think he didn't see through his intentions?
All right, bring it on. But let me clarify, the matter of her spirit beast breaking the contract has nothing to do with me.
Enough with the excuses. Let's have Supervisor Fleck bear witness.
Randy Reed glanced at Arthur Fleck.
No problem, but it's just a spar, right? This little fellow is just a youngling. How could it possibly influence anyone?
Arthur Fleck replied with a gentle smile. Humph. Randy Reed glared at Daniel Walker and began gathering spiritual energy. He immediately prepared to use a 6-tier technique, unwilling to risk losing anything. Daniel Walker appeared slightly uneasy, while Anna Reed, standing nearby, wore a genuinely worried expression. Unlike Daniel's feigned concern, Anna truly feared for him. After enduring so many attacks, even if Daniel could absorb spells, there had to be a limit.
3,000 weak water.
The water element spell, 3,000 weak water, transformed spiritual energy into a massive river that surged downward. Once caught in it, one would inevitably drown due to the unique properties of weak water. Forcing one's way out would certainly result in internal injuries. Daniel Walker watched the massive river cascading down and suddenly opened his mouth wide, gulping it down in large swallows. Every cell in his body operated at maximum speed, rapidly digesting the spiritual energy turned into water, using it to strengthen his physical body. Randy Reed was initially startled but quickly dismissed it. Even if Daniel could drink it, how long could he possibly keep going? Gulp, gulp. Daniel Walker continued drinking. Feeling a bit of strain in his neck, he simply laid down and kept swallowing. Everyone around was momentarily speechless. Did you really have to act so outrageously? Wasn't this just blatantly slapping faces? Randy Reed also felt humiliated, but he couldn't maintain this spell for too long, so he decisively switched to using a spiritual energy blade to attack. The blade struck directly at Daniel Walker. Daniel Walker immediately let out an "ouch" and exclaimed,
"You're not playing by the rules. Didn't we agree on one move for one treasure?"
Randy Reed sneered, as if unbothered by such accusations.
"Don't worry. Steward Fleck is right here keeping count. You can choose your treasures afterward. Just make sure you don't go back on your word when the time comes. Relax."
Randy Reed waved his hand and launched another attack.
"That's the third strike already. Fat Uncle, you better remember this,"
Daniel Walker shouted. Arthur Fleck didn't particularly enjoy being called fat. Though it was true, he didn't bother responding to Daniel Walker. After all, the voice sounded like that of a 2- or 3-year-old child. Why would he argue with a kid? 5 minutes later, Randy Reed's face had visibly darkened.
"Come on, keep going. You owe me 7 treasures now,"
Daniel Walker said smugly, his fluffy white tail with a black patch swaying back and forth in pride. Randy Reed briefly considered yanking that tail off. His expression grew grim. He truly hadn't expected this guy to be so ridiculously tough.
"Fine."
Randy Reed retrieved a scroll from his storage ring, containing an advanced 8th-tier spell gifted by his father. Anna Reed's face changed instantly. She quickly stepped forward, blocking Daniel Walker.
"Isn't it a bit much for the young master to use a scroll?"
Anna Reed was genuinely frightened. She knew full well that if Randy Reed wanted to kill her, he wouldn't even have to take responsibility. But she couldn't let anything happen to Daniel Walker. She knew Daniel Walker was strong. 7th-tier attacks didn't faze him, but this was an 8th-tier spell.
"You're cheating?"
Daniel Walker was equally astonished by Randy Reed's actions. However, he was even more moved by Anna Reed's protective gesture. He stepped forward and grabbed the hem of her green robe.
"Don't worry. I told you before. I'll make sure no one in the Reed family dares to bully you anymore."
Today was the perfect opportunity. He wanted everyone to know that Anna Reed had an 8th-tier spirit beast protecting her. No one would dare to mistreat her again.
"But—"
Anna Reed bit her lip, still anxious.
"It's fine. Step back,"
Daniel Walker reassured her. As he spoke, he turned to Randy Reed and said,
"How about this? If I take your scroll attack without getting hurt, not only will you owe me 8 treasures, but you'll also have to swear in front of everyone that if Anna Reed ever faces any injustice, you'll personally step in to defend her. If you break this vow, you'll encounter inner demons during your next breakthrough."
Hearing this, Randy Reed's gaze darkened. Clutching the scroll tightly, he hesitated. That kind of vow was indeed. But he was confident he could injure Daniel Walker. No matter how strong he was, He couldn't possibly be immune to the power of an advanced 8th tier spell. Even 8th tier spirit beasts wouldn't
dare to make such a claim, unless it was a 9th tier mythical beast. But how could that be? 9th tier mythical beasts were never born as cubs. The Reed family had never seen anyone born at the 9th tier, so Randy Reed didn't believe it.
Have you thought it through?
Daniel Walker asked. Randy Reed gritted his teeth.
All right.
Arthur Fleck squinted his eyes with a smile and said,
I will bear witness.
An advanced level 8 water wind scroll, Tempest Fury. Everyone around stared without blinking, eager to see the final outcome. Would it truly cause no harm? Tempest Fury. Its wind formed sharp blades, and its rain was like needles of steel. In an instant, the violent spiritual energy even alarmed the elders in the council. As the spiritual energy gradually dissipated, a panda shook off its fur, looking full of vigor as it stared at Randy Reed, completely unharmed. Randy Reed's face suddenly turned pale.
You've lost. Please fulfill the agreement,
Daniel Walker said, enunciating each word clearly. Randy Reed hesitated, flustered. He couldn't believe Daniel Walker was truly unharmed. But how was this possible? Could it really be a level 9?
Young clan leader, you've indeed lost. Look at all the children watching.
Arthur Fleck chimed in, unfazed by the possibility of offending the Reed family. They had reluctantly come to the Reed household, but the Reed family had never been worthy of their respect.
You?
Randy Reed's face flushed red with anger.
What's going on? Who is causing trouble?
A cold voice rang out, drawing everyone's attention toward its source.
Kevin Reed, you've arrived just in time. This spirit beast is inciting other spirit beasts to dissolve their contracts. Shouldn't it be punished according to the family rules?
Chapter 29. Just a little joke. Kevin Reed? Daniel Walker quickly turned his head to look back. Kevin Reed stepped forward with a cold expression. He had been sent by the elders to assess the situation, but now there were fluctuations of an 8th grade power here. Kevin Reed, in front of outsiders, only displayed the strength of an early 7th grade cultivator. His involvement in this matter was clearly intentional. If he handled it well, there would be no issue, and the matter would pass without further mention. However, if he failed to resolve it, he might face expulsion from the Elder Council. Ever since his master passed away, the Elder Council had always looked down on him. They wanted to drive him out, but feared public criticism, and felt the need to maintain their reputation. Assigning someone like Kevin Reed, a direct disciple of a family elder, to guard the gates was already a shameless act.
What's going on? Don't you know fighting is forbidden within the family?
Randy Reed let out a sigh of relief and said,
You heard what I just said, didn't you? Now, immediately follow the family rules and deal with this spirit beast. Spit on that. You scoundrel. You're nothing but a shameless hypocrite,
Daniel Walker angrily retorted.
From start to finish, did you see me make a move? Did any of you see it? It's clear you were attacking me. And now you're turning around to bite back at me? You just want to renege on your debt, don't you? You don't want to hand over the treasure you owe me, right? If you can't handle losing, just admit it. I'm not interested in your petty little tricks.
Randy Reed, the dignified young patriarch, being berated by a spirit beast for being shameless, was an enormous humiliation. Could it be that he was even less honorable than a mere beast?
Manager Fleck is also here. I'll trouble Manager Fleck to clarify the situation,
Kevin Reed said, completely ignoring Randy Reed, or rather, it seemed he didn't want to acknowledge anyone at all. Arthur Fleck rubbed his belly and said,
I only know that the young patriarch made a bet with this little spirit beast.
He briefly recounted the events that had just unfolded. Without exaggerating or embellishing, anyone with common sense could tell that Randy Reed was in the wrong. Setting aside other matters, the fact that he quarreled with a tiny, young spirit beast lost the bet, and then refused to honor the agreement was utterly disgraceful. Randy Reed knew he was partly at fault in this matter, which left him feeling both embarrassed and furious. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. The peculiar looks from the surrounding onlookers only fueled his desire to kill Daniel Walker and end this fiasco.
"All right, now tell me what happened earlier."
Kevin Reed casually gestured to a child. The child was startled and stammered.
"We saw Anna Reed downstairs, so we wanted to go down and play with her. Then we ended up playing with her contract beast."
Kevin Reed nodded and looked at another child.
"You tell me."
The other child instinctively glanced at the one who had just spoken. It was strange. Although Kevin Reed held a rather awkward position, often looked down upon, and seemed to endure bullying within the household, many still felt uneasy when they faced him.
"We went down to play with Anna Reed because her contract beast is immune to attacks. We got curious and wanted to test it out, but then Samantha's contract beast ran away."
They still didn't dare to offend Samantha Reed. However, they were equally afraid of Daniel Walker, so the next few children hesitated and mumbled that it was all just a joke. Anna Reed stood silently to the side, her long lashes trembling slightly. She didn't object. What would be the point of objecting? Kevin Reed wouldn't be able to help them anyway. In fact, this was already considered a form of help. If it had been someone else, they might have been directly accused. But Samantha Reed, standing nearby, wasn't willing to let the matter slide, knowing Daniel Walker and the others wouldn't be punished. She wasn't worried about being penalized herself.
"Kevin Reed, you've already heard everything clearly. I was just playing with him, yet he incited my contract beast to break the contract. Shouldn't we invoke the family rules?"
Samantha Reed stood up, her pretty face now showing a harsh expression. Once an adorable girl, her upbringing had turned her into this.
"You speak."
Kevin Reed ignored Samantha Reed and looked at Daniel Walker.
"Earlier, I did play with him, but not with her. She wanted to kill me, but her contract beast felt it wasn't right and broke the contract with her. It has nothing to do with me,"
Daniel Walker said.
"You?"
Samantha Reed was about to say something when Kevin Reed interrupted her.
"When a contract beast dissolves its contract, regardless of whether the owner is at fault, they must take responsibility. According to the family rules, they are required to leave the house for 3 years of training."
Kevin Reed's words made Samantha Reed's face go pale. Any contract beast was a valuable combat asset to the Reed family, and an unnecessary loss would naturally result in punishment. Randy Reed cast a heavy glance at Kevin Reed and said,
"For this matter, it might be better to have the elders intervene."
Kevin Reed responded without hesitation.
"The elders have entrusted me to handle this matter." "You?" "Kevin Reed, listen here. I am the young clan leader, and I demand you immediately deal with this spirit beast."
Randy Reed was somewhat angry at Kevin Reed's attitude. Just a person who could be expelled from the clan at any moment, yet he dared to act superior to him.
Actually, in my opinion, this is all a minor issue. Instead of arguing endlessly, why not quickly go see where that contract beast has run off to? Finding it would be the best course of action. As for today's matters, they're really just trivial,"
Arthur Fleck said amicably from the side.
"Exactly, it's just a small bet, yet you intend to renege on it. TSK. The young clan leader is truly impressive, losing a bet with a spirit beast and then trying to back out. Such authority."
Daniel Walker rolled his eyes from the side. Anna Reed softly called out to him, hoping he wouldn't continue provoking further trouble. However, Daniel Walker thought to himself that since he had already offended them, even if he let this matter go, the other party would still hold a grudge. So why give up on his rightful bet? Randy Reed immediately became furious.
"Who said I wouldn't admit defeat? Then hand over the treasure to me,"
Daniel Walker quickly replied. Randy Reed was momentarily speechless, stammering,
I'm just worried you might not be able to handle it. Well, you don't need to worry about that. Whether I can handle it or not is none of your concern.
Daniel Walker pouted, making a mocking face at him.
You?
At this moment, Randy Reed felt cornered. Earlier, he had deliberately ignored Daniel Walker's words 3 times, but this time, he couldn't brush it off anymore. Yet, if he truly had to part with the treasure, he absolutely couldn't accept it.
What do you mean, you? If you want to go back on your word, just say it outright. Though I am a spirit beast, if you humans want to shamelessly renege on a bet, what can I do? Hayes, truly, people's hearts have changed. Humans these days, TSK. A bunch of beasts, hard to put into words.
The spirit beast spoke mockingly. Randy Reed's face turned green and red, glaring at Daniel Walker. This was truly absurd. How could a spirit beast be so talkative? Other spirit beasts, no matter how intelligent, rarely spoke so much at this age. Most were better at their own languages. As for the human language, it was usually only for communicating with their masters.
Why are you staring at me? Did I say something wrong, or are you planning to give me that treasure? If so, then I apologize, my apologies.
Daniel Walker said seriously. Chapter 30. Making Enemies. After speaking, he raised his head and stared intently at Randy Reed without blinking. Randy Reed was so furious that blood surged to his throat, his face stiffened, and, with a grim expression, he said,
Yes, I definitely won't go back on my word.
After all, he was determined to convene a family meeting to deal with Daniel Walker, so giving in now wouldn't matter.
Choose for yourself. 8 items, no more than that.
Randy Reed reluctantly pulled out his treasures, but he had no intention of offering the truly valuable ones. Daniel Walker, of course, understood his intent, and besides, he only wanted a storage ring in the first place.
The first treasure is your storage ring. Hand it over to me first.
Randy Reed's forehead twitched slightly, but he still severed the connection with the storage ring, emptied its contents, and threw it to Daniel Walker. Daniel Walker immediately handed it to Anna Reed.
Quick, claim it as yours. We'll need it to store things later.
Anna Reed took the ring, feeling a slight warmth in her hand. She glanced at Randy Reed, only to see him glaring at her with a sinister look, sending a chill down her spine. However, seeing Daniel Walker standing in front of her, she gritted her teeth and went ahead to claim ownership. She wasn't the type to be ungrateful or avoid confrontation. Running away would only embolden them further. It was better to fight back. Randy Reed observed Anna Reed's actions and sneered coldly. A freeloader of the family dared to act so arrogantly. It seemed this person couldn't be overlooked.
This one, and this one too, and also this one.
Daniel Walker could feel the vibrations emanating from these items. The more premium they were, the stronger his desire to devour them. However, he only entertained the thought. These things were all meant to protect Anna. Randy Reed's face turned sour as he watched Daniel take away all the best treasures, his resentment growing even deeper.
My, you do have a lot of good stuff. Care to place another bet with me?
Daniel Walker clicked his tongue.
In your dreams?
Randy Reed, now traumatized by the word
bet,
wouldn't dare to do anything so reckless again, at least not in the short term.
About today's matter, may I trouble Uncle Reed to come with me to meet the clan elders?
Randy Reed looked at Kevin Reed, emphasizing the words, Uncle Reed, with a hint of threat. Kevin Reed nodded emotionlessly.
Wait a moment, Uncle Reed.
Daniel Walker called out, stepping forward to grab the hem of Kevin's robe, quickly climbing up. Kevin Reed's expression momentarily revealed an almost imperceptible stiffness. He reached out, picked Daniel up, and patted his head.
What is it? Well, we were thinking of thanking you. Could you come find us 3 nights from now?
Daniel whispered softly into his ear.
All right.
Kevin Reed responded briefly before tossing Daniel toward Anna Reed. Anna instinctively caught him. Startled by the sudden throw, Daniel bared his teeth at Kevin in frustration.
Hey! What's with you?
The last time was one thing, but now that they were on relatively good terms, why was Kevin still tossing him around? Kevin Reed glanced at him with a complicated look, his icy expression unchanged as he turned and walked away. In truth, Kevin had a secret he didn't want anyone to know. He loved small, fluffy creatures. If he didn't throw Daniel away, he wouldn't be able to resist. However, his image wouldn't allow him to indulge in such behavior. This was something Daniel could never have known. Otherwise, he would have immediately understood where Peacock King had inherited his unreliable nature. Typically, spirit beasts formed contracts when both parties were very young, growing up together as companions. Humans often use their intelligence to guide their contracted spirit beasts. After Randy Reed and the others left, the remaining children didn't dare to look at Daniel Walker, afraid they might provoke him. At the very least, they now believed Daniel Walker was undoubtedly a high-level spirit beast, at least level 8, possibly even level 9, because even a level 8 spirit beast couldn't shrug off such injuries so easily. But still, if you're a level 9 spirit beast, why aren't you charging into the celestial gate? What are you doing here? How frustrating.
You brought this trouble upon yourselves.
Arthur Fleck stood nearby, laughing as he spoke. From start to finish, he maintained a cheerful expression, looking even more fox-like than the red fox behind him. Daniel Walker blinked, curiously eyeing the father and son duo. Both were as round as balls, one large, one small. Somehow, they seemed even rounder than he was. Arthur Fleck blinked back at him, stepping forward with curiosity.
I heard you're a species called a panda? That's right.
Daniel Walker nodded proudly.
Are pandas cats or bears? You look more like a member of the canine family.
Arthur Fleck's round face showed a puzzled yet serious expression. Daniel Walker was momentarily at a loss for words. Indeed, pandas seemed closer to bears, and were classified under the subfamily of canines, but he wasn't a bear, nor a cat, and certainly not a dog.
What level of power are you immune to?
Arthur Fleck quickly moved on from the previous question.
Level 8.
Daniel Walker thought for a moment. After all, there was no point in hiding it. They had already seen for themselves.
Then, would you like to join us in making some money?
Arthur Fleck flashed a radiant smile, one that carried the same charm as his father. Daniel Walker.
Cough cough, Arthur. This isn't the place to talk.
Arthur Fleck spoke up from the side. Arthur Fleck immediately raised his head, looked at Anna Reed, and said,
It's so late already. Has everyone had dinner? There's a tavern nearby with delicious food. Let's go together. My treat.
Anna Reed still felt a bit awkward since she wasn't close to these two people. Richard Fleck might have been in the same class as her, but the two had never interacted. Arthur Fleck was even more unfamiliar. She had only heard of him as the one who took over her father's position. It seemed he had also helped her stay in the past.
Then let's go together.
Arthur Fleck, standing by, said with a smile. Daniel Walker gave a slight glance. He knew these two definitely had other intentions, but he wasn't afraid of them. Besides, why not go if he could get free food?
Anna, let's go together.
Daniel Walker tugged at Anna Reed's sleeve. He couldn't eat greasy food, but Anna could. She had always eaten things lacking nutrition, and sometimes even went hungry. This was a rare opportunity. Anna Reed hesitated for a moment before agreeing. The tavern they mentioned was located on Reed family's territory, on a street nearby, and was called Janie Cena Tavern. The food at Janie Cena Tavern was indeed famous. Moreover, the beautiful women there were also well known. Of course, The beauties here only sang and played instruments, nothing more. But dining here was still an enjoyable experience. As soon as Daniel Walker stepped inside, he couldn't help but be amazed by the decor. At least in the modern era, he had never seen a place so antique yet discreetly luxurious. Every detail of the carvings was meticulously crafted.
Manager Fleck has arrived.
A girl wearing a thin silk dress approached, her pretty face adorned with a gentle smile.
Yes, the usual spot,
Arthur Fleck replied, clearly a regular here. The girl smiled and nodded, her discreet gaze sweeping over Anna Reed and Daniel Walker before lingering on Daniel Walker for a moment, showing a hint of surprise. Daniel Walker, being round and adorable, had an undeniable charm. Chapter 31, Jealous Already. Of course, there was also the reason she didn't recognize its race. Seeing the expression on Lady Serpent's face, Arthur Fleck chuckled and said,
"Well then, let me introduce my son's new friend. Do you know what kind of creature this little girl has in her arms?"
Lady Serpent shook her head, her gaze falling on Daniel Walker's innocent expression. Something in her heart felt as though it had been poked. She extended her hand and asked,
"May I touch it a little?"
Daniel Walker blinked. Although he felt it wasn't entirely appropriate, after all, he was a man. This lady was so beautiful that, well, Anna Reed nodded slightly, still a bit timid. This was not the type of place she usually frequented.
"Wow, it's so soft."
Lady Serpent couldn't wait any longer. She reached out to stroke his head, patted him twice, and even pinched his ears. Daniel Walker's body instantly went stiff.
"Don't touch the ears."
He quickly, albeit a little awkwardly, brushed her hand away. He felt completely off-kilter. For cats, ears were indeed sensitive, and not something they liked being touched. Yet Daniel Walker didn't realize he shared this trait. That tingling sensation, like an electric shock, was truly. Hee. Lady Serpent looked at his reaction, and an even stronger urge to hold and cuddle him surged within her.
"Can I hold him for a while?" "Don't worry, I won't hurt him,"
Lady Serpent said with a smile. Her peach blossom eyes brimmed with charm. Anna Reed, seeing her smile, unconsciously nodded. After all, it was rare for someone to smile at her like that. Her smile was truly beautiful. Seeing her approval, Lady Serpent wasted no time. She scooped Daniel Walker up, holding him tightly in her arms, and even rubbed her chin against his head twice, her face showing immense satisfaction.
"I want a spirit beast like this too."
Daniel Walker, suddenly pressed against her chest, was momentarily dumbfounded. The sweet fragrance, reminiscent of peach blossoms, disoriented him even further. A tabby cat with a complicated expression appeared, watching its owner with a new favorite. Its heart was instantly filled with jealousy.
"Oh dear, I almost forgot. Steward Fleck, please, this way."
Lady Serpent, fortunately a responsible person, continued petting the panda in her arms while leading the way for Steward Fleck. Her steps were noticeably lighter than usual. Arthur Fleck grinned as he led Anna Reed into a private room. Immediately, several women dressed in ethereal, fairy-like attire entered to pour tea for them. The tea, called
June Star,
could enhance spiritual power. It was a luxury Anna Reed had never experienced before.
"Try it. This tea only has its effect the first time you drink it. After that, it's just good tea,"
Arthur Fleck said, pouring a cup for Anna Reed. Anna Reed glanced uneasily at Daniel Walker, who was still being endlessly petted. She couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong here. At the very least, she felt she couldn't repay this kindness.
"It's all right, drink up. Years ago, I had a good relationship with your father. It's just that in recent years, as an outsider, I haven't been able to intervene much in family matters. Besides, you should know this. Now that you have an 8th-tier contract beast, your family can't treat you the way they used to. You need to start adjusting yourself as well."
Arthur Fleck's words carried a profound meaning. Anna Reed pursed her lips, clutching the coarse fabric of her clothes tightly. After a long pause, she slowly released her grip, raised her head, and her clear eyes met his.
So, Steward Fleck, do you know where my father is now?
Arthur Fleck chuckled and replied,
I don't know. Your father and I mainly dealt in business matters before. Besides, just call me Uncle Fleck.
Anna Reed nodded without saying anything further. She looked at the cup of tea before her, its unique aroma wafting up, gradually easing the unease in her heart. She wasn't sure if she had changed from who she used to be, but she knew she wouldn't rely on Daniel Walker forever. She would grow stronger. She would protect little Dumpling. Seeing Anna Reed finish the cup of tea, Arthur Fleck squinted his eyes in a smile, rubbing his belly, and turned to Lady Serpent.
Bring the food out. The usual, but add an extra portion today for the two little ones.
Lady Serpent, hearing this, clung tightly to Daniel Walker and laughed.
Then please wait a moment.
With that, she prepared to carry Daniel Walker away. The tabby cat could no longer hold back. It suddenly leaped, its plump body, almost as round as a ball, drawing an arc in midair before landing gently in front of Lady Serpent.
You found someone new, haven't you? Does that mean you don't need me, your old companion, anymore?
The tabby cat said sorrowfully. A hint of awkwardness flashed across Lady Serpent's face. She looked at Daniel Walker, who was dazed and dizzy from being held so tightly in her arms, then at the tabby cat's grief-stricken, resentful expression. After thinking for a moment, she reached out to stroke its head.
Why would you say that? He's just a guest. You're my bonded spirit beast. Have you forgotten the years we grew up together? I love you the most.
The tabby cat tilted its head arrogantly.
Lies. If that's true, then let him go. Besides, how can you carry him around like that? It's improper.
Lady Serpent suddenly realized she couldn't keep holding onto a guest like this. Reluctantly, she placed Daniel Walker onto a soft chair reserved for spirit beasts. The tabby cat grew even more jealous. How could its master treat another creature so gently? Was it just because he was a young one? Back when it was little, it had been adorable too. Once Lady Serpent left, the tabby cat couldn't wait any longer. It jumped down, its layers of fat rippling like waves, making it look irresistibly fluffy. Its icy blue eyes stared intently at the dazed Daniel Walker, and with a haughty tone, it asked, You foolish creature, tell me, what species are you? Why have I never seen your kind before? Hearing the voice, Daniel Walker turned to look and saw a round tabby cat staring at him. Surprised, he exclaimed, A fat tabby cat! Very well, you foolish creature. The great pumpkin will remember you. I'll use all my life's power to curse you. May you never have anyone to pet you for the rest of your life. The tabby cat was clearly furious, trembling as it spoke, its body jiggling like waves. Daniel Walker couldn't resist reaching out to touch it, only to discover it wasn't water but actual fat. Don't touch me with your filthy paws, you foolish creature. You still haven't answered my question. What species are you? Pumpkin stepped back, full of disdain. It carefully assessed the young one before it. Black and white fur intermingled, though not purely black or white, with a noble hint of color resembling its own. Around its eyes were dark circles, making it look rather ugly. Pumpkin thought it was far more beautiful. What could its master possibly see in this creature? A panda! Daniel Walker replied, chuckling slightly. This tabby cat was truly amusing. A panda? The fat cat frowned, sensing that things weren't as simple as they seemed. So you're also a cat? Alarm bells rang in its mind. It had already been worried that this newcomer might compete for its master's affection. But its master had always preferred cats, and wasn't particularly fond of other creatures, which had reassured it somewhat. But now, this one turned out to be a cat too. Chapter 32, Exploration. Level 1 Alert.
I'm a panda. You can call me a bearcat, but I'm not a cat.
Daniel Walker emphasized.
So, are you a cat or a bear?
Pumpkin felt a headache coming on. What kind of nonsense is this, bearcat panda? Can't you just explain it clearly?
A panda is a panda. Not a bear, and not a cat. But how can there even be a species like pandas? We noble cats would never mate with bears.
Daniel Walker was speechless, staring at Pumpkin. How was he supposed to explain this? Pumpkin looked at him with equal frustration, unable to comprehend why any self-respecting cat would stoop to having offspring with a bear. Judging by the fur color, could it even have some tabby genes from his own kind? Oh heavens! Pumpkin suddenly jumped up in shock, leaping incredibly high. The fat on his body shifted downward due to inertia, completely engulfing his legs. Daniel Walker tilted his head upward, a bit startled as he watched the plump cat leap like Arthur Fleck from that one iconic scene. It was truly a visual disaster.
Stay away from me! And stay away from my master, too!
Pumpkin screamed, his fur bristling. Daniel Walker rolled his eyes, refusing to pay attention to this overweight, mentally unstable cat. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the two red foxes, one large, one small, who were intently watching him. The larger one looked far more menacing, and rightly so. After all, any creature only appears cute and harmless when they're young.
I heard you forced my honey to pay you tribute in silver and spirit stones?
Diao spoke, her voice carrying the allure of a seductive dominatrix. If one only heard her voice, they might mistake her for a stunning beauty. However, for spirit beasts, only those who have surpassed the seventh heavenly layer can take on human form. Daniel Walker had no time to appreciate her captivating voice. His entire body froze as he awkwardly glanced at Du Yao, then shifted his gaze to Du Hongyi, forcing out an uneasy laugh.
Ahem, well, about that, mine. Just return it,
Du Yao said. Daniel Walker was slightly surprised and a bit speechless. Why was she asking for it back like this? But Du Yao looked as though she was ready to devour him in the next second, especially with those golden eyes, which seemed to conceal a ferocious beast within.
That's not right. There's no guarantee you can beat me,
Daniel Walker suddenly retorted. Hearing this, Du Yao raised her eyes slightly and then chuckled. She had merely wanted to test this little one. In fact, she had just used a bit of her innate skill to cast an illusion on Daniel Walker. This type of illusion would give him the impression that he was inferior to her. However, this child reacted quickly, proving he was no ordinary 8th-rank individual. Du Yao's eyes flickered slightly. She was clearly not someone from this lower realm.
Then it's not certain.
Daniel Walker snorted lightly, unwilling to admit defeat, and said,
Then why don't you try attacking me? If I can block it, you'll give me spirit stones. How about that?
Du Yao laughed again and said,
I won't compete with you on that. How about this, you attack me. If I get injured, I'll give you spirit stones. Deal?
Daniel Walker was momentarily at a loss for words upon hearing this. He didn't know how to attack. He could only defend.
You're bullying me. I'm still just a kid.
A trace of amusement flickered in Du Yao's eyes as she said,
Your defensive abilities aren't something an ordinary young creature would have. At the very least, they belong to some ancient races.
Daniel Walker snorted twice but said nothing. Pandas surviving from ancient times until now were already incredible enough. From the other side, Richard Fleck came running over. Every step he took made Daniel Walker's eyelids twitch, thinking this guy really needed to lose some weight.
So what do you think about what I mentioned earlier?
Richard Fleck leaned down in front of Daniel Walker, a smile on his face.
I don't understand what you're saying,
Daniel Walker replied, looking at him warily. This chubby guy was probably another sly fox in disguise, just like his father.
It's simple. Didn't you say you could defend against 8th rank attacks? So, would you like to collaborate with us and become a specialized training dummy? You see, some people who are just learning new skills are still quite inexperienced.